Welcome to the Once Upon an Island podcast. I'm your host, Wesley, and of course, I am joined by my lovely co-host,
Mary.
And we've been doing this, Mary, this deep dive breakdown from old seasons of Survivor since season 6.
Mm-hmm.
Can you believe it's been that long?
Yeah. I can't actually, but
it's been like 5 years, I want to say, we've been doing this. Yeah, but here we are talking about season 28. Maybe one day we'll do seasons 1 through 5. I don't know. I keep talking about it, but I'm like, when do I want to take the time to do that? Maybe when we've caught up on all the seasons. I think that's when we go back.
Sure.
All right. So today we're going to go through every episode of Cagayan. Mary and I have watched it before. I mean, I've watched every season at least twice at minimum, but Mary had only seen this season, what was it? One time way back in the day? Mary, you came into Cagayan. What were your expectations not having seen it in 6 years?
I was excited. I remember liking it a lot. I remember really liking Tony and Sarah and Garrett. And so, yeah, I was excited to rewatch it, see if it held up.
And I mean, spoiler alert, did it hold up?
Yes, it did. Definitely.
All right, cool. All right, well, let's go through everything. I got extensive notes here for every episode. I also have questions from you all on Patreon. By the way, free to sign up for Patreon. There's a free tier and then there are paid tiers. We greatly appreciate you supporting us on Patreon. It keeps us sponsorship free. We don't have to shill ourselves to sponsors. That's really the part I like the most. I like not having to do that. All right. Thank you all for supporting us. Link in the description. Let's start at the beginning, Mary. Now, you and I, the last season we podcast of an older season of Survivor was season 24. The patrons got to pick for the 5th year anniversary of this channel to pick any season. Since we just got done with One World, I was like, pick anything. If you want to do Philippines next, we can do Philippines next. Mm-hmm. But if you don't pick Philippines, we'll go right back to it afterwards. So no worries. We're going chronologically through all the seasons. They picked Cagayan. I'm like, okay, cool. Not too far of a jump ahead from season 24, the last season we podcast. So after Cagayan, we'll go back to 25. But anyways, point being is contextually, the last season you and I podcast was the 4th time Survivor wins in Samoa. And they never went back after that.
Right.
Now, this season is the 4th time they're in the Philippines, and they're not going to go back after this. But let me tell you, maybe at this point, after watching 4 seasons in the Philippines, it's a little bit like, all right, I've seen all these locations before, but to me, it was a breath of fresh air after watching all the Samoa seasons and just seeing Survivor currently in Fiji nonstop in real time.
True. It does feel, it feels pretty different. I mean, I probably wouldn't have noticed until you started pointing it out to me.
I mean, it's beaches and trees.
It's beaches and trees, yeah. And I don't pay close attention. I do feel like I would have noticed the fruit. They eat different fruit here than they do in other places in season. So, but yeah, it's definitely a different location, and it's fun to have. It's like you said, refreshing to just visually see something different.
Once Survivor started cutting costs by shooting seasons back to back in the same location without leaving the location, starting in season 19, if I had to pick a location, because they're all kind of they all started playing it safe. They're like, let's just do beaches with trees. Like, we're not going to any crazy locations like Guatemala or Tocantins or Gabon. Mm-hmm. And I have made a video about when will Survivor leave Fiji. That is up here on YouTube. You can check it out with details on why they've done this. But if I had to pick between Samoa, Nicaragua, Philippines, and what's going to be coming up after Philippines, Cambodia. Well, they're going to go back to Nicaragua first for some reason. Then they're going to go to Cambodia/Koh Rong. I think Cambodia/Koh Rong is the most interesting. I know that's in the future, and we're not going to talk about the future too much, but that one's more interesting. There's a lot more open space, so it's a lot less places to hide for players. I remember there not being much, but here there's like so much. Like, Philippines is so lush, so very green.
Beautiful,
yeah, it's a beautiful location. Not again. I don't want Survivor to stay at any location forever. So 4 seasons in this location, not a bad spot. The twist of this season, Mary, is brains, brawn, and beauty. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's the twist of the season. I
love the twist of this season. I think it's amazing. I mean, I like when they have themed seasons anyways. We've talked about that before. Just a theme makes it more interesting. It's more fun. And I really enjoy this theme. I think it's a really good one.
Now, I don't have the Survivor Wiki pulled up in front of me, so I'm going to do this off of memory, but maybe you can pull the Survivor Wiki and double check me for Cagayan. Is there anyone who felt out of place on any of these tribes? So for the Brawn tribe, we have Sarah, Tony, Trish, Cliff, Wu, and Lindsay. Now on the Brawn tribe, did anyone feel out of place for Brawn?
Not really to me, no. I feel like everybody kind of fit that I don't want to say stereotype, but I guess that's kind of what they're going for. So, I mean, out of most of them, I guess maybe Lindsay, just because they kept talking about so much about how she didn't do much around camp. Right. But otherwise, no. I mean, I feel like everyone fit it really well.
Like the eye test, I want to say Trish, but I'm like, no, Trish was like, she was skinny, but she was like kind of like, she was a Pilates instructor, and she was like a little, I don't want to say buff, but she was definitely in shape, and she worked.
Yeah, she worked
and she
hard.
had the attitude of a brawn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then it was kind of a weird choice for me to have Tony and Sarah, both cops, on the same tribe, though it did provide some of the most interesting dynamics in the pre-merge.
Sure.
Between them. And of course, long-term survivor, because Sarah and Tony will play again. For those who have not got past season 28, they will play again, and they'll even be on the same season again. So look forward to that if you didn't already know that. So their cop dynamic, at first you're like, they put two cops in the same tribe, but then in this season, no, it was actually super interesting.
It was. It was really good.
And then we go over to Beauty. Top of my head, the three men were Jeremiah, LJ McKansas, what a name, Bryce, and the women were Morgan, Alexis, and who's the Jeffra.
Jeffra.
Okay, on that tribe, did anyone feel out of place for Beauty, casting-wise?
I think we talked a little bit
before the podcast.
Right. As we were watching the show, we talked a little bit about how McKansas.
LJ McKansas, what a name.
Didn't quite fit in because he was like a horse trainer. And sure, he's like relatively good looking. But I know, for me, I feel like everyone else had like their occupation had to do with their looks. Like a model or a cheerleader or whatever they were.
Pilates instructor, cop.
No. On Beauty.
Oh, I just meant in general. Okay,
well, yes.
I just meant for their tribes.
Versus him, his occupation didn't have anything to do with his physical look. So that was the one that maybe didn't. It was like a stretch. But I mean, he's relatively good looking. I can't like knock him for that.
But LJ, here's the thing with LJ is like Jeff was like in love. Like if you watch preseason stuff, by the way, preseason stuff, Tony says they made a mistake casting me. They put a shark in a pool full of minnows. And I was like, wow, like he kind of called it. But Jeff like loved LJ, just loved LJ. And LJ even says in the first episode, I guess I have inner beauty, because he was confused how he ended up on the Beauty tribe. And I'm like, all right, at least LJ is a little bit aware. Like he's a little bit like, how did I end up on the Beauty tribe? You know, LJ looks more brawn to me.
Yeah, he does. But I mean, again,
Brains Mary. This is our hot mess of a tribe. The men are Spencer, Garrett. This is all top of my head, by the way. David. The women are, of course, Tasha, Cass, and Jatia. This is probably the most iconic of the three tribes, despite how iconic this entire cast is. Like I remembered all 18 of them.
Right. I don't think there's anyone on the Brains tribe that I would say should not have been on the Brains tribe.
From first glance, not from how they played on the show, just from like casting, we're talking about.
Well, I mean, even how they play on the show.
Because once they got on the show, I'm like, Brains? Really? Some of these people?
I mean, that's typical. A lot of people with book smarts have zero social skills or street smarts, however, like a combination of those three. And so it's true, if you like are extremely book smart, you tend to be more lacking in other areas. And same for the other areas. Like nobody's perfect in one area or not, but it just comes across more because you expect them to be good at like the puzzles and stuff. But I think
they just can't do it.
Yeah. And again, this is like
Jatia's like a nuclear engineer, nuclear scientist. I forgot what her job is, and she can't do like anything.
Yes. Well, and again, that's part of like a lot of really smart people who are specialists in their area.
Yeah. Like
they really hone in on that area, but could tell you almost nothing else about anything else. So like, I thought it was, again, pretty aptly cast.
Cass, of course, as we know, is socially all over the place. Spencer, I feel like only because he was on the underdog tribe does he fall into a position where people rooted for him to win. I feel like if Spencer was in the majority alliance on this season, Spencer would not have been as well liked as because he's like the fan favorite from the season besides Tony.
Right.
And I'm like, would Spencer have been the fan favorite if he was in the majority alliance and they like ran the game? I think Spencer works better when he's making these extreme emotions with his face and flipping out at the stupidity because he's on the underdog tribe and he's succeeding despite being on the underdog tribe.
Right. Because he seems like the most normal of the Brain tribe, or the most...
He's just the most... He's saying what we are all
relatable.
Thinking.
Yeah, he's the most relatable, I think. Yeah. And I agree, yeah, because he was on the bottom consistently. he had to fight pretty hard versus he kind of gets cocky if he feels comfortable, I feel like, which it didn't happen often because he didn't feel comfortable often, but that could have messed up his game too.
Now, Tasha also, I thought she was a bigger character this season. Maybe it's in her next season because she will return along with Spencer on season 31 Cambodia. I wonder, and along with Cass and Wu, by the way. Crazy. They got 4 people from Cagayan to come back. Anyways, they're going to return. I remember Tasha more, but maybe it's more from her next time playing because I'm like, Tasha this season, not really as big of a character as I remembered her being. From what I recall.
I don't know.
Am I going crazy? Do you think she's a big character this season?
I wouldn't say a big character, no. Yeah.
There's limited screen time and certain people are eating up a lot of it.
Right.
So, all right, well, let's start off. Jeff says, all right, tribes, pick a leader. By the way, this is like a leader, quote unquote, for like one decision. To pick basically ends up being their weakest member to go to their tribe and make a decision. Now, top of my head, I apologize. I have not watched season 25, 26, and 27 in a little bit. So I don't recall this ever occurring in Survivor where the players go to their camp and then have a decision to make. Now, they did do this exact twist in season 18, Tocantins, where the tribes voted off their weakest member. So a leader didn't pick it. And the weakest member then got like a helicopter ride to their tribe. And then they basically had the decision to look for an idol or build camp. I think, so it's similar, but this was like explicit. You either get an extra bag of rice or you get an idol clue.
Right.
And it was very distinct. Like this is the choice. And it wasn't, you could kind of do both if you were smart in Tocantins. But here it was like, this is it. So the Beauty tribe, LJ's picked as leader and he picks Morgan. And Morgan is not having it. She's like ticked. But also, as we learned this season, Morgan's lazy. So she's not going to really do much about being ticked.
So not a bad choice, I guess.
Yeah.
Except she didn't pick rice. Or more food, whatever it was.
Right. She ended up picking the idol clue. She goes out and looks, and then she's like, I guess it's all the looking I'm going to do. And then never like looks again that we see. And of course, she never finds the idol with the idol clue in her pocket. And then when she switches tribes later on, she's like, yeah, I never found it. Like, that's like, and then there's like so many scenes of Morgan being lazy. There's a secret scene of Morgan being lazy. It's a whole thing. And then over on the Braun tribe, Sarah's the leader and she picks Trish. Trish is like, takes zero offense to this. The best pick that could have been made on that tribe. She takes no offense. Now the Brains tribe, David, president of the Miami Marlins at the time, I don't know if he still is at the time, picks Garrett and then pitches it as he's thinking about the end of the game and how he wants to put a target on Garrett's back.
Which is not the smart thing to say right away on day one, right?
I think Garrett's the right decision, but I think there's a better way of going about this. Can you guess where I'm going with this, Mary?
No.
So
please explain.
I think it's twofold. If you're going to pick Garrett, like let's say that's your decision. I don't know why you pick him, but let's say that's your decision. You pick Garrett. You sell it as, Jeff, I think you're trying to trick us and there's a challenge between our weakest members and I want Garrett to win it.
There you go.
Right? And then when Garrett doesn't win it, he's not mad at you, or if there isn't a challenge, Garrett isn't mad at you because you're like, no, I wanted you to win a challenge. I was assuming there's going to be a 3-way challenge and you were going to win it. Like, obviously, I'm going to put my best player in, right? Even though that's not what he's really thinking. I know that's 4D chess. And that's also me having 2020 vision, right?
Sure.
2020 hindsight.
Yeah.
Like,
I
can't say in the moment I would have thought of that.
Yeah, that would be difficult to come up with something that quickly. But at the same time, you don't do what David did and just was like,
well, who do you pick? You're David, okay? Who do you pick? Spencer, Cass, Jatia, Tasha. Not Garrett, apparently.
Yeah, I mean,
another woman? That's sexist.
Probably another woman. I don't know. That's like typically.
You pick Spencer, Spencer's finding the idol.
Yeah, that's true. He probably would have.
Saying if he had picked Spencer, Spencer finds the idol. He picks Cass. Cass is ticked. As we learned, that would have been a bad decision. I mean, don't get me wrong. David
but he doesn't know these people yet.
Yeah, David goes right away. I'm saying, what's the best decision for David? David is out first with the decision he made. Right. He's already out first. So how could have David not gone out first? Is it picking Jatia or Tasha?
Can you pick yourself?
Right. Well, that would have been. I actually think I'm the weakest member, Jeff. That could have been it.
Yeah.
But then you have to pick the rice.
Sure.
You have to pick the rice. You can't pick the idol.
Well, you can do what Morgan did and was like, there was a choice between a big bag of rice or a little bag of rice, and I got the big bag of rice. I don't know.
And then she got caught for that.
Yeah, eventually the truth comes out with that one, yeah.
That's the problem with, and I think in a later season, they'll do this where you get to pick between the two things again. I don't know if they ever do. I know they do it at least twice. I don't know if they ever do it a third time. And I'm trying not to spoil future seasons, but I know this decision is brought back. I think it's an interesting one. It's just that when tribes get swapped, this information comes up, but is it relevant by the time the tribes are swapped?
Right. Yeah. I guess the moral of this, because yes, if you're playing a Survivor and there's a random twist that you don't really know about yet or hasn't come up often or whatever, and you have to make an on-the-fly decision, don't say what's exactly on your mind. Try to be as vague as possible.
If what you're saying is going to be negative.
I'm talking about, for David. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But if you're going to say what's on your mind and it's positive, go for it. But if you're saying what's on your mind, it's negative, you need to spin it or be vague or neutral or anything but saying, oh yeah, this guy looks, what? How does Garrett look weak? Garrett's like clearly
not the weakest.
Clearly does not physically look the weakest.
Right.
All right. So, Morgan and Garrett pick the idol clue. Garrett actually finds the idol. Trish picks rice. Smart.
Right.
I mean, that is the move. But I think what's important here is that some people would say I'd get the idol clue. In fact, when Tony gets to Braun, he's like, I would have picked the idol clue.
Right.
I'd have an idol in my pocket and everyone would have one bag of rice.
Right.
But the thing is I would take the bag of rice, and just knowing there's an idol here already means you can look for the idol.
Right.
You know, at this point, Survivor has busted that gate open in season 19. We are now, 10 seasons later, basically. There's enough evidence of where to look for idols.
And Tony's good at finding idols. So
as we learned.
For him, that would be probably a good decision.
Right.
But for someone else, it might not be.
But I would have never have looked in the pond or whatever where Tony found. I mean, all these first idols for every tribe were in a body of water. Tony's that he found was in that pond. Garrett's was in some stream by was it a little waterfall? I forget exactly. It was like some little and then LJ's the one that he finds later is in the ocean, of course, where Morgan was looking.
Right.
They're all in bodies of water. I thought that was an interesting spot to hide them.
Yeah. I like that.
I wish Survivor would still do that. They've started to mix it up here lately. I don't want to date the podcast too much because they used to just put it on the walking path at waist height. Just for like 6 or 7 seasons straight, but then they stopped that finally. Thank the Lord.
As of right now.
Higher. Yeah, watch them go back to that. But anyway, so all right, so we go over to Braun tribe. Sarah's like, Tony, are you a cop? And he's like, no, I'm a construction worker. Why would you think I'm a cop? They have a tattoo here. They don't allow that. And she's like, what do you mean they don't allow that? How would you know that? And he's like, I have 50 cop friends. You don't have any cop friends? She's like, yeah, I have cop friends. I'm a cop. And that's when Tony knows he's busted.
Yeah.
Who says they have 50 cop friends?
Yeah,
and like, how would you even know this many cops in real life without being a cop?
He kept getting arrested for stuff.
Yeah, and befriend
but then
them.
He makes friends with them.
Yeah, while he's in jail as a construction worker.
It's possible. He's Tony. Like, I could see that. But no, I agree. Not necessarily the smartest decision by Tony.
50 cop friends.
But it is funny.
But I'm not a cop.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
So dumb. It's so funny, but this is Tony this season, like 2 steps forward, 1 step back at all times. Like the idea of, and the reason he says he doesn't want to expose he's a cop because people might view that as very strategical, he says. And I'm like, when has that ever been brought up? In the first 27 seasons, the people are like, oh, that's a cop, therefore very strategic.
Gotta get him out, yeah.
Gotta get him out.
Yeah.
It's like the people are like, I'm a lawyer, so I can't tell you when I'm a lawyer. It's like, I don't think it's ever been brought up as a reason. No one's been like, that's a lawyer, gotta get them out.
Yeah, lawyers typically have a bad rap, though. So I get that one.
This is 2014, so cops did not have the bad rap that they would later get in real life.
Right.
Just this is more of put this podcast in the right terms.
I feel like this is more of him saying, yeah, I don't want people thinking I'm smart or I'm, as hardworking or whatever.
2014 is a very neutral time for cops.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that. Like, if you're going to, because Tony ends up telling everyone later. He ends up telling Sarah, and then he ends up telling everybody.
The only person he doesn't tell is Jeff, and then he's at Tribal basically lying to Jeff, and everyone already knows Tony's a cop.
Yeah,
and so Jeff's like, wait, does everyone already know you're a cop or something like that? And everyone's like, yeah. Tony's still going on about his lie about
it's
being
like he forgot about who he told or whatever.
So he's just sticking to the lie, but everyone already knows the truth at that point.
I think even if you're trying to keep your job hidden, but someone else in your same field approaches you, like, they're in the same spot. If you're trying to keep your job hidden because of negativity around it or whatever, like, again, they're in the same spot. So they would want to also protect you or whatever the case may be. So yeah, him lying to Sarah wasn't necessarily the best thing at that moment, I think.
It's a good point. And Tony will also, I'm trying to think what I was getting at with that. All right, I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
Good job.
So many things with Tony. I'm not sure if we're there yet. So anyways, we go over to the Brains tribe and Jatia's like, I'm a nuclear engineer. That's the job. I'm a nuclear engineer and I know how to build a shelter. Proceeds to boss everyone around. Doesn't actually physically help. They all proceed to build a crab shelter.
Yep. Based on her directions.
Amazing.
Is what it seemed like. Yeah.
Amazing. So we don't really get anything with Beauty aside from Morgan looked for the idol and didn't find it. So we go over to the immunity challenge, and I don't really talk about the challenges that much in these deep dives on past seasons, unless it's something that stands out. In this case, Jeff's just like laying on thick about how bad the Brains tribe is. And I'm like, it's the first challenge.
Yeah, this was he does it the whole pre-marriage. He gets onto Brains. He gets onto Brains.
They haven't even lost a challenge. He's already just like saying how much they suck. And
maybe he expected more. I thought it was hilarious, honestly.
No, I'm for it. It's just confusing when you contextualize Jeff and you're like, why is he laying on so thick already? You think you'd at least give him a challenge before he starts laying on how bad this tribe sucks.
Right.
It's been one challenge. They haven't even done another challenge yet.
But I don't remember, were they like extremely behind the whole time? Because they were usually extremely behind. This is the one where
they're like smashing through things with their wheelbarrow or something. I don't know. I forget.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Kind of blend together.
But for the most part, during most of the challenges, they were always like extremely far behind. Like there's no chance.
Yeah.
So I get that. I don't remember if that was the case in this one.
I don't know. Brains lose immunity. David's voted off. We hardly knew ye. The second half of episode 1 is really episode 2, but because it's a 2-hour episode, but it's really just 2 episodes put into one. So we go over to Brains again, and Garrett's like, I don't really want to, and this is how he sounds, despite being a huge muscular dude. I don't really want to do survival stuff outside. I want to like just do the strategy part. And it's like this hugely buff dude. And he's like basically wants to play Big Brother is what I noted.
Yeah, he probably would have been better on Big Brother.
He wants to sit in a house, do strategy,
and
eat and work out. Garrett should have been on Big Brother.
Yep.
I don't know if he would have been better. I mean, it can't be much worse than what happened here.
True.
I feel like he wanted to play Big Brother. Oh, now I remember. So earlier, and maybe this is later, but it's all connected to the Sarah Tony thing. That's what I was trying to think of. Sarah says, this is not something that would fly today. Sarah says, you know how some people have a gaydar? Well, I have a copdar, and I can recognize a cop when I'm in the vicinity of one. And I'm like, I don't think you could say the gaydar thing. I don't know when that stopped being okay, but I can see 2024 Survivor, 2025 Survivor. I don't think you could say the gaydar thing. I have a gaydar. I knew that person was gay. I have a copdar. I know that I don't know. I just, what do you think about this, Mary? You think that would fly today?
Probably not.
Probably not. When she said it, I was like, things that will not be repeated, but we're okay in 2014.
Yeah. Times change.
That's all I'm pointing out. Contextually, you got to get in the time frame of where we are. I don't think it's bad to say. I'm just saying I don't think it would happen again today. If it was said, it wouldn't be on the show. I could be wrong. All right, so Tony built a spy shack. Now, it's not called this, but we've all seen the whole season. If you're here, I assume, why are you listening to a podcast about the season? You haven't seen the whole season. This is really the precursor to his real spy shack. He builds it in the back of the shelter. And Mary, what did you think about this? This is like the first draft.
Well, it was hard to tell. Like I was confused as where he was going to be. I don't know. It just looked like a bunch of extra branches. It is a smart idea. I applaud him for trying, but it felt like it didn't really pay off until Spy Shack 2.0 or the real one or whatever. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it was fun because you're starting to get to know Tony and his personality, and it was something nobody's really done before that we've seen. So that was interesting. And
how does that pay off better than just being behind the shelter listening to people talk?
Well, I mean, it's true because a lot of times people get caught doing that, or they'll walk in on somebody.
It happens later in the season.
It happens a lot.
Listen to Tony, and they think they hear things, but they didn't actually hear the right things. So it happens to Tony, funnily enough. But here, Tony builds, and I basically, in my opinion, first draft, like where was he? Well, it never came to fruition in 8. Like nothing happened with this version. What's the idea? You hide in it? And then you have to be super silent. You can't even breathe loud. Because remember, there's no music like we're hearing on the show. No sound effects. Sure, there's like a couple film people, like producers, probably like 10, I would say, I'm just guessing, 10 camera / producer people on the island with your tribe of 6.
Right.
There's like 16 people, but still, people are going to be wondering, why does it sound like somebody's breathing behind me as I'm laying in the shelter?
Right.
Tony, what are you doing back there?
Yeah, when do you get out? Like, there's typically always somebody around camp, or and maybe not, but there's people walking around camp. Yeah, that's one place. Like at the water well, people go to the water well and then they leave.
Yes, they leave.
So yeah, but at camp, that's a difficult place to have a spy shack.
Yeah, so I think it's why if he ever hid in it, there's no. At least I don't have access to any secret scenes of him doing it. That was all we saw on the show, which I really think they showed just because later on he does make a superior idea, which is, as you said, at the water well, near the water well, a place where people go to talk and leave. Yeah. So, just brings up here and I'm like, okay. Also, he says the words weasel woo so casually here in episode 1. This is never explained in the show. He just says it. We move on. Why is Woo a weasel? Woo is never presented as a weasel in the show.
No.
It's a little behind the scenes,
he's
Mary.
Like the most loyal person ever.
Yeah, he's a goofball and he's quiet. And so here's the behind the scenes. I don't know how much this is true, so just take this as a rumor. Woo is a weasel because apparently he snuck off once, maybe more, multiple times, but at least once outside of the boundaries of where the players are supposed to be. They have specific like, hey, don't go beyond these points.
Sure.
This is where production has all our crap at. Woo went to where production has all the crap at and went and got food.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But with Tony saying this in the second half of episode 1, I'm like, did Woo do it in the first few days? Woo was like doing his ninja stealth skills, stealing food from production.
I could see that. And then he got in trouble for it and he's like, okay, I won't do it. Like he's like a kid who sees what he can get with.
Oh, I didn't see the sign.
Right.
Oh, I thought I could just come to this tent where all the cameras and stuff and just eat your food. Oh no. That's how he got away with it. So they called him Weasel Woo.
That's funny.
That's the rumor. I don't have any better reasons for why they call him Weasel Woo, but it's just casually thrown in here in episode 1. Crazy. I thought.
Well, didn't he have a nickname for Cliff too? But I don't remember.
If he does, I forgot it.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, he doesn't like how. We'll get to that a little bit later, but he doesn't like how people really latch on to Cliff. People really are attracted to Cliff, and Tony. It's not that Tony doesn't like that as much. He just says that he's noticed it. And it's not like Boston Rob or Russell Hantz were like, I don't like when people do. He's just noticing things.
Right.
He's noticing how people are how they are interacting and stuff. Brains lose immunity on another puzzle. And Sarah says, they're still working on the puzzle. Jeff, I think I'm on the wrong tribe because she just did the puzzle for Braun.
Yeah,
that was funny. Tony then finds the idol in the lake. We kind of talked about how all the idols, at least the first idols are all in water. Garrett, though, we get back to the Brains tribe. Mary, can you describe what that's going on here? Because they're sitting in the shelter and Garrett's like, no talking. Yeah,
it was something I've never seen on Survivor before or since. Well, maybe a little bit with Boston Rob. But anyways, yeah, Garrett's just
in the future, but not. Oh, yeah, no, in season 22, Redemption Island, where Boston Rob's like buddy system.
Yes, I have the buddy system. But this was even more than the buddy system. This was like Garrett telling his whole tribe, nobody's talking. We're all just going to sit here.
Let's just make a decision and nobody go off and talk.
Yes.
I hate when people go off and talk.
Yes.
The thing that he said he wanted to do earlier, which is strategy. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, okay, I don't remember who he asked. Cass. I think he asked Cass first. Who do you think we should vote off or whatever? Like in front of everyone. And this was where I was like, well, you don't have to answer him. You could just be, but they did try. They're like, no, we don't want to. And he kept just like bullying them into it. It felt like. So
I don't want to go off and talk.
Right. To me, there's like a balance of allowing somebody to do that because everyone just kind of gave in and said, was it Jatia they were supposed to vote out that night, right?
I think that's who, him and Spencer tried voting off Jatia. They were going to vote off Jatia.
Yeah.
So like Tasha's like, I'm not doing this. I'm going to go down and I'm going to go talk. And her and Cass are talking down by the water.
Right.
Garrett comes to basically Boston Rob them and watch them.
Yes.
And the Cass like, who's watching Jatia up in camp?
Yeah.
Cut to
Jatia pouring all the rice on camp. I mean,
this is not the first time this has happened in Survivor.
It's not.
It's not. Mary has not seen the other season where this happened before this one. So Mary, heads up, this is not the first time this happens. I do not want to spoil. There is another time in between season 24 and this one where it happens. No spoilers for you. People who know, they know. But yes.
Yeah. This was just shocking to me. It was like a scene from a movie or something because the camera's on Jatia. She's just laying in the shelter. Looks like she's chilling, but you can see like there's conflict on her face, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Then she just gets up, grabs the pot and throws it on the fire. And it's just like, it was to me the first time I was so shocked.
Dude, I was
even
blown
this
away.
time I was like, I knew it was coming, but I'm just like, how?
What's the thought process? Revenge.
I'm mad they're going to vote me out, so I'm not going to give them rice. Like
I kind of get the feeling, and it's shocking that she survived this vote.
Yes.
Like that should have been Jatia, we were going to save you.
Yeah.
You screwed it up.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like, no, the value of your vote is more valuable than keeping Garrett. But I don't, how does it work out long term? I guess it kind of works out for most of the Brain Tribe and makes it super far. So
True.
I guess it works out for, Spencer, Cass, and Tasha. It's not like, but keeping Garrett, I wonder if they would have won a challenge and changed the course of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Like won another challenge.
It's possible, but my problem with the Brain Tribe, and you see it in most tribes that kind of self-destruct like this, is they automatically can't work as a team. And when you have individuals all playing their own game,
Playing an individual game as a team.
And, whether it's a challenge or whether it's your strategy back at camp or whatever it is, like everyone had their own plan. Everyone had their own idea kind of thing. And it really showed in the challenge. And I think that's why they failed consistently. So I don't think keeping Garrett would have let them win another challenge. I mean, he could have. You never know, I guess.
Jatia's just so bad in challenges. I'm like, how could Garrett be worse?
Right. True.
I think maybe Garrett's a threat to you and your Brains alliance come a swap or a merge.
Yeah.
Maybe he could ruin your game. So I don't.
Yeah.
I think it worked out. So who might have questioned it? It just doesn't seem like it made sense. And in the moment.
No. If I have somebody who's taking away my food, that's not okay.
Yeah, I'd be pretty angry. Day 6 or whatever, this day 5 or 6.
Yeah.
All right, so Garrett gets voted off. Spencer's blindsided on that. Go to episode 2. Tony tells Sarah the truth like right away, as soon as the episode starts. That night. He's like, "Hey Sarah, I'm a cop." She's like, "What? I knew this. I'm my cop-dar." He's like, yeah. And she's like, "We can go to the end." And he's like, "Yeah, cops are us." It's the first time that gets mentioned. It gets mentioned again a couple times, I think. Yeah, it's the first time. Cops are us. She's like, "That's never happened before. 2 cops at the end." True. I can't remember any other time there's been a cop at the end, let alone 2 cops at the end. Though I could be not recalling something. I don't remember any cops making it to the end before Tony.
Yeah, you would know.
I'm like running through final 2s and 3s in my head. So let alone 2 cops at the end. So Sarah's correct. Tony then makes up a story that he does it here and he does it again later. So he like tells it kind of twice, does it a little bit here at night. He's like, hey, Sarah, I can't really do a Tony voice, but hey, Sarah, Cliff and Lindsay, they were talking about you. They're like, oh, gotta get out Sarah. Oh, she's like, what?
Yeah.
I gotta get out Cliff and Lindsay.
Mm-hmm.
And the next day he's like, yeah, Cliff and Lindsay were talking and Cliff wants to get you out. And Lindsay was going along with it. And this is me. Not shorthand,
right.
Paraphrasing. Yeah. And Sarah's just hook, line, sinker.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I shook Tony's hand and it was a sincere handshake.
Mm-hmm.
It was a sincere handshake.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew he was telling me the truth.
Right.
He was not. He just made up a story and it worked. And brilliant. I love, by the way, when people get away with stuff like this, it can backfire hardly. How'd you just talk to Cliff and Lindsay about it?
Well, it makes sense. Like he has enough of the truth where it makes sense because I think he said something about like it was because she was so good at the puzzles and the challenge or something, and she's such a strong competitor.
Yeah.
Truthful things. But I don't think Cliff and Lindsay. We weren't shown them doing.
Tony was
any
taking
strategy.
advantage of the cop. Swearing on her badge thing. He was taking advantage of that.
Yes.
Knowing Sarah's probably going to believe him. So good play. He didn't notice how he didn't do this completely fabricated story to anyone else, and it worked.
Right. Exactly. Like you have to know.
He tried with Cass, I think, and it didn't work. Or maybe he told Cass the truth. I forgot what happened later.
I don't know.
The llama situation.
Oh, yeah.
When she's checking stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have to know who your target is, how they're going to respond to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so he played it very well with Sarah here.
It reminds me of Sandra in Heroes vs. Villains when she talks to Russell and she's like, Russell, Coach was talking about getting you off. And Russell's like, what? And she's like, I thought he was your homeboy. He's like, not anymore. And like, that was Coach's game right there. That was it. I'm sure the conversation was longer, but that was basically it because Sandra figured out all I need to do is make Russell paranoid about somebody. They're gone. Mm-hmm. Russell was that easy to manipulate and Sandra took advantage.
Yeah.
People in Samoa didn't fully realize that, how to take advantage of that. But Heroes vs. Villains, it got taken advantage of. And
again, you have to know who to pit them against.
Yes.
Like you can't just say anybody.
Right.
Yeah, it has to be somebody that's
She
believable.
couldn't have said Jerry at the time.
Right.
Don't think Jerry. Anyways, we're talking about heroes versus villains at that point, but there's certain people you have to pick your targets correctly.
Mhm.
So, all right. The rain and weather is intense. I noticed this season in definitely certain times, and this is what I miss about the modern seasons that are currently happening in Survivor in Fiji. The weather is not really that intense very often at all, and yet here in Samoa and then now here in Philippines, like just intense rain and intense winds they get, and they're like picking up branches, and the branches are like pulling them in other directions because of how strong the wind is. And it's like, I miss this part of Survivor. I know Survivor production literally cannot
you can't
change the weather. Like, I get that, but I miss it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Happens a couple times in Fiji, but not really recently.
I'm sure the location has a lot to do with the weather.
Right. And the time of year and everything.
Climate and everything. Yeah.
All right. LJ finds the idol in the beauty tribe. So the brains decide we're going to practice for the immunity challenge.
Mm-hmm.
We have read the note. We know we're going to be tossing water to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So they get coconuts and they're tossing water, and they go, and I think it does da 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 da. I think that's the song that plays. Classical song. Do you know what it is?
It's a Viennese waltz. I forget which one.
Mary has a degree in music. She should know this.
Thanks.
She should know this. Are you looking up right now?
No.
Oh, I think you're looking it up. Okay. I don't even know how you Google da 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 da. Anyways, that song. As they're not doing very well and they're practicing, we then go to the challenge and they do not do very well. They literally get second place because the maze at the end is like you pull on strings and like a big metal ball goes through it, and they caught up to, I believe, the beauty tribe, because the beauty tribe for some reason couldn't get this thing together. Braun blew through it again. Braun was just dominating challenges, but beauty could not get their act together. And yeah, brains pulled off, but it wasn't because of the toss in the water. They were screwing that bad. They were in last place on the tossing in the water.
Yes.
Despite the practice and despite
that's a hard thing to practice.
The musical montage.
Yeah.
Well, they were practicing it though.
Oh, I know. I know.
People were like just dropping buckets. Like they toss water and they drop the buckets. Like, and then Cass would get like a drop.
Yeah.
Like, great.
It was ridiculous.
Because she was at the end of the line. So, all right. Yeah. Bryce is voted off of the beauty tribe. Again, hardly knew ye.
Right. Beauty was not important.
Beauty was not important, especially Bryce. But it's funny because Bryce now, Mary, is him and Wendell from another future season of Survivor. They do like Survivor watch parties and stuff. And so Bryce, while not known, if he was just on the show, nobody would really remember Bryce, but Bryce made himself a part of the Survivor community by doing a lot of Survivor events and being on like Rob as a podcast and stuff like that post Survivor. So he really took advantage of his 2 weeks. If you really think about it, this is episode 2, 2 weeks of fame.
Yeah,
on Survivor.
good for him.
Yeah, good for him. Exactly. All right, we go to episode 3. Gosh, sometimes I wish I put more context for my notes. Jeremiah sounds like he's wishy-washy. About what, Wesley? About what?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either, but I wrote it down like it was important. Okay, well, there we go. Brains practice again for the reward challenge, and then they blow it because it's the blindfolded challenge. And Chatia couldn't pull up the string or something, like pull up the platform at the same time as the Spencer side or something like that.
Mm-hmm. She never pulled the same time at the same rate.
And Braun was way behind and they caught up because they knew how to pull up the platform blindfolded.
Right. Yeah, I think Brains did fairly well in this challenge, and except for a few crucial moments. And yeah, at the end, they kind of really blew it there.
Again, another note I wrote, I do not fully understand my context. Alexis is baffled by how chickens are made. Is this she's baffled by...
Remember? Yes, I remember this. They had the whole conversation because one of the chickens was a rooster, and then there was 3 hens. And so she was like, so do they need the rooster to lay eggs? And they're like, no, we don't need the rooster. We could like
the rooster's free food.
Yeah, but it was like this very long conversation to get to the fact that they didn't need the rooster to lay the eggs. And she was just not grasping getting it.
No. Yeah. Okay, I remember this now. I remember this. Yeah. All right, so Alexis just baffled by how chickens are made. Woo is really swayed easily to flip on Cliff because now Sarah's like, Woo, we got to get out Cliff. And Woo, by the way, so far has like befriended Cliff. They went on the boat, they fell over. Ha ha ha, good times.
Good
Immediately says, yeah, I'll flip on Cliff.
Yeah. I don't even, did she give a
Weasel
good reason?
Woo. Yeah, she just said,
besides he wants to vote me out or something?
basically, I want to make a majority alliance to get out Cliff. And Woo's like, okay.
Yeah.
Basically, that's all we saw.
Yeah.
He's like, all right.
Yeah.
Weasel Woo.
I remember this because this is where Sarah wants to throw the challenge.
Throw immunity.
Yeah.
She talks to Trish. Trish's like, all right, I guess. And Woo's like, I do not want to throw immunity.
Right.
So everyone basically minus Cliff, because Lindsay sits out, is throwing immunity. And despite this, the brains are so awful in the water at retrieving the ball for Spencer. I think it's Chatia and Cass for some reason are in the water. Why isn't Tasha in there? She was the only other competent brains member on any challenge. So Tasha should have been in the water getting Spencer the ball.
Right.
From what I recall, maybe she was down there. Chatia and Cass, though, were just incompetent. And Chatia could barely swim. Like, why is she in the water retrieving the ball?
I think if I remember correctly, and I don't remember where Tasha was, but I do remember that a lot of the rebounds of the ball went forward, and Chatia was the closest to. She was the forward. She was in the forward position.
But Cass was off to the side doing nothing.
Yeah, well, that was her position. I think. I think that's what they were placed. Yeah, and so then she would have farther to swim to help her out, help Chatia out.
Why is Chatia in the water?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because Spencer, he's not like amazingly making. He did a lot of the work in getting those buoys up, and then Tasha did work getting those buoys up, and there's really the only two doing anything on brains. Chatia and Cass just like a mess. Tasha need to be in the water retrieving the balls for Spencer, or be the one shooting and Spencer is retrieving. I don't know if Tasha could shoot, but Spencer did okay shooting. But yeah, Cliff, the professional NBA player, despite his team being super slow at getting a buoy,
of course
is going to make the shots. So they couldn't sit out Cliff because that'd have been too obvious.
Yeah.
Like sit out your professional basketball player on the only challenge that resembles basketball. Right. Yeah. So they end up winning, and Sarah's like, the brain tribe really sucks. Even when we're throwing, we still win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So Chatia gets voted off. I can't say we hardly knew ye. We knew ye.
Well, no, we knew.
We knew ye.
And I think she knew at that time. I was surprised there wasn't another emotional blow up.
I think this time it was more understood. Like she felt like she had a fair shot and she blew it.
Yeah.
Whereas with Garrett, it felt like she didn't have a chance.
Yes, it was just like that was the decision, and there was no reason besides her kind of being the weakest. But yeah.
Yeah. Chatia, I think Chatia had accepted her fate. Like she knew she was the one. She was the who was she going to convince?
Right.
Right. So Chatia gets voted off. All right, move on to episode 4, and Jeff says, drop your buffs. We're switching up tribes. Basically, it ends up being the Apari tribe. The orange tribe is Sarah, the only brawn with 3 beauty and all the brains. All the brains are on this tribe.
The 3 brains.
The 3 brains, all 3 of them. And then we go over to the purple tribe, and it's all the brawn and some of the beauty. 2 of the beauty. So the brawn have majority on that tribe.
Right.
That's not how things are going to turn out. This season is unpredictable boot order. Like on paper, it does not make, like watching it adds up most of the time, but on paper it does not add up. So the purple tribe wins a reward. I like this challenge by this. The one where they were holding their idols and they're trying to knock down the other person's idol.
Yeah.
And they do this, I believe, in Philippines season 25, or maybe it's season 26 Caramoan, but I know they've done this before chronologically in Survivor before this season. But I like this challenge.
Yeah. This is a fun one.
They should do this again. This is a very easy to set up, very easy to film. I don't know why Survivor is so hell-bent on doing challenges that end in puzzles when this is very easy to do. It shows like how people play. And I don't know, I kind of liked it.
It's entertaining. Yeah.
It's a good watch.
Yeah.
I like it. Anyways, purple tribe loses, and yeah, it was just a good time.
It was pretty close. Like, yeah.
Yeah. We go over to the purple tribe. Trish is like, LJ is so hot. And I'm like, all right, that's why he's on the beauty tribe. Did the editors leave this in, Mary, to sell us on that LJ's hot?
I don't know. I think it did kind of help decide, later on when they have to vote somebody off, like why Trish fought for LJ or whatever.
Right.
Because
she found him
because hot. LJ should have been the first boot on that tribe because, again, there's only 2 beauty, him and I forget the girl. And he's obviously the stronger physical threat. So that makes sense. But that's not what happened. So I think that was just a little taste of why that was not the case.
Why Trish wants to save LJ. As shallow as that may be. I'm sure it's not the whole reason, but it's the reason we're given. So
right.
Morgan, though, Sarah's like, I am by myself on this tribe with 3 brains and 3 beauty. I need to do something. She's like, oh, Trish picked the bag of rice back on day 1. What happened at your guys' tribes? And Alexis looks over at Morgan. She's like, Morgan. And Morgan's like, yeah, but I never found the idol.
Right.
And that's it. And nobody worries too much because it's Morgan.
Right.
And Morgan is lazy.
Mm-hmm.
We see it multiple times. Morgan is lazy. And it's even in secret scenes. Like,
and
they're cutting out scenes of her being lazy.
Nobody really cares that she lied about it or whatever either. Or it doesn't come up anyways.
Morgan's only ever talked about as, like, basically she's hot. And she has, like, kind of like a... Because LJ says, like, there's girls who are cute, like Alexis, and there are girls who are hot. That's Morgan. And you can't trust hot. Or you can't trust cute. I forgot which one.
No, you can't trust hot. He didn't like Morgan.
Yeah, you can't trust hot.
Yeah.
I don't know if hot really is what you can't trust. I think it's just Morgan doesn't look like she really cares.
Yeah, it's more of the
I
personality.
think Morgan's going to stand by your side till the very end. I think Morgan flips on a dime.
Yeah.
Is Morgan a loyal person? We don't really know. So, all right. She's revealed to have lied about the idol clue. Good move by Sarah.
Yes, it was.
Yes. Get the heat off of you immediately. Become the swing vote between the two tribes. So we do see on this tribe though with Sarah, Beauty like they're not tight. They're just like immediately snitching on each other. Jeffra, Jeremiah, I think it's Jeffra. No, it's not Jeffra. It's Jeremiah,
Alexis and Morgan.
They're all just like telling each other. And the brain's like, oh, our work has been made easy for us.
Yes.
The brains have been through 3 tribals. They're tight.
This is where the note about Jeremiah being wishy-washy, I think, comes in because Alexis was so mad at him for some reason about whatever.
Sure.
And so, yeah, they were constantly going around to other people like, make sure you don't trust Alexis. Make sure you don't trust Jeremiah. And it was like easy pickings for everybody else.
Nothing, by the way, that we saw to me indicated why we shouldn't trust Alexis going, not in this episode, but later, like to me, didn't fully line up. Same with, by the way, Cliff makes a little bit more sense because this is the episode where Cliff goes because we had set that up like well in advance.
Right.
Tony doesn't like how people are attracted to Cliff and his charisma. He is not a big fan of this. He doesn't want people like hooking on to Cliff. And I don't know if there's more to it than that, but that's what we're given. So it makes more sense. Alexis just like out of left field for me.
Right. I think that honestly, it's just because the Beauty made themselves such easy targets and they didn't want any reconnection once there is another merge, you know?
Why not vote with LJ? Because
Well,
he has an idol?
we talked, well,
Did they know that?
they didn't, I don't think they knew that. I think that LJ.
Oh, LJ's on the Tony group. Sorry. We're talking about Jeremiah,
Yes.
Alexis, and Morgan. Why did they vote off Morgan? She is actually doing nothing.
Because Alexis was the most forward, I think, out of the 3 of going around talking to people and strategizing.
She seemed like a threat.
So she seemed like more of the
Jeremiah was chill and Morgan was lazy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Beauty just crumbles to the brains. Orange wins immunity. There's a debate between voting off LJ and Cliff. There's always a debate between LJ and somebody, it seems like, until LJ goes later. But yeah, Cliff gets voted off. We then, by the way, forgot to mention this earlier. Trish and Lindsay do not like each other. They were tiffing back in episode 1. They don't like each other. Their personalities clash. Something about them. That night after Cliff gets voted off, Trish is fighting with Lindsay. Lindsay quits.
Oh yeah.
Mary, do you already forget again?
Yes.
I forgot when we watched him. Like Lindsay quits this season. I didn't remember that. You forgot. We just watched it in the past week.
Yeah, I did. And because it's so like her reasoning is so random. She's like, I can't stay here because I don't want my kid to see me fighting. So don't fight.
everyone knows that I need the $1 million the most.
Yes.
Which is why I'm quitting.
Right.
What?
It was random. I think she was just done. You know, like after you had a really long emotional day and things don't turn out how you expect.
First.
She should have slept on it.
She should have slept on it.
Yeah. But she didn't.
And this tribe will write on the beach, shame on you, Lindsay. And it will be shown for like 2 seconds. And then, but so it lets you know what they think about her quitting. Because she doesn't even tell them.
Right.
She's
No,
quitting.
she doesn't. Jeff asked her, how do you want to handle it? She's like, I'm just going to stay here, Jeff. You go tell him.
She acts like the decision she's making is some moral high ground. Like it's some superior decision. And it's not just her just quitting. It is. It's just her just quitting. Like there's no good reason.
Just quitting.
She's just quitting.
Yep.
For no good reason.
Yeah. Unfortunately. Yeah. I forgot all about that.
So Trish basically wins that battle. I wrote Lindsay quits. Wow. Idol slapping reward challenge. Oh, I thought that was the previous challenge. Do we not do that? Was that the reward challenge in the last episode?
That's what you said it was.
I thought it was. Anyways, I like the idol slapping reward challenge because I wrote it down. Sorry, I got the episodes mixed up when it happens, but I liked it. Whatever. Tony and Wu get to go to the Orange Tribe, but they have to know in the back of their head the merge is coming next episode or two. So they don't really they get to steal supplies, but they're like, we're gonna pick whatever they had like an options on their list of what they could steal, and they picked like whatever was the least important. That's not what ends up being important. This is something, by the way, you do like episode like 2, not episode 5, when everyone knows merge coming, very swapped. So we don't really have a dislike for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
He gets him and Wu get an idol clue to the Beauty Tribe. Little do they know, LJ already has that idol.
Mm-hmm.
It's a clue to hit that idol. So they give it to Jeremiah to put a target on his back, which seems fine.
Right.
But then they take back the idol clue. They're like, Tony's like making up rules as he goes. Yes. Oh, but we have to take the idol clue back. Why?
Yeah. This is one of those things where like Tony kind of shoots himself in the foot. I feel like we never see that it comes back to bite him really, but at the same time, like you can't help but think like, let's just think through this logically. They come to camp because they won the reward. They steal our stuff. And then, oh, by the way, you get a clue to an idol.
Right. And then we have to take the idol clue back.
Yes. And we're going to go give it to you. But then as they're leaving, Tony's like, oh, I have to get the clue. And he turns and he runs back
and grabs
says,
it from Jeremiah.
I have to have the clue. And it takes it. So like, yeah, anybody with half a brain would have been like, okay.
But then Tasha and Alexis, and I'm sure others, were like, oh, Jeremiah has an idol clue.
Yeah.
If come a merge, Jeremiah will be their number 6 on their tribe. And I'm like, have you never watched this show before?
Right.
You don't get the idol clue back.
Mm-hmm.
That's suspicious. That's the suspicious part to me. If Jeremiah just had the idol clue, I would think what you're thinking, but that's not what happened.
If Tony would have just left it with him, that would have been fine.
And Jeremiah is like trying to explain that. He's like, guys, why do you, it's an idol clue to the other beach that we were, or it's not even this beach. It's the rock wall thing. Right. He's like so calm and chill. That's why I think it's how he survives, because he's so calm and chill about it. He's like, come on, guys, think about this logically.
Right. Yeah. It was kind of ridiculous. And we're not shown Tony asking for the clue back. Like,
I want to see that
I'm going to go get it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if he's like, oh, I have something else to tell you. And then he takes them in the private, because people didn't believe that Jeremiah didn't have the clue. So obviously I don't think he did it in front of everyone. So good for him on that. But Jeremiah could easily be like, okay, search me. Like, here's my pockets, whatever. Right. He took it. So yeah, it was easy to prove that he didn't have the clue. So yeah, I mean, like Tony has these like great ideas. Just sometimes his execution isn't. His
execution's so sloppy.
Yeah,
he gets away with so much this season they probably shouldn't have gotten away with. Yeah. So Tony tells his tribe he is a cop.
Yeah.
It's kind of like later on when Jeremiah's like, "Heads up, everybody! I am a model." Again, nobody cares. Spencer's like, Jeremiah thought this would be some big deal when he told us. Okay.
Right.
Tony tells everyone that he's a cop. Yeah, okay.
I think Trish had a kind of big reaction, but
Trish is gullible and she admits this multiple times too.
So, but it was just more like,
yeah.
Now we're all solid, good. It was
kind of solidifying. Like, hey, here's the thing. By lying to, I don't know if someone said this, but it's like by lying to you earlier, I am now telling you the truth, which shows you trust.
Yes, LJ pointed it out.
Yeah,
yeah.
I have lied to you and now told you the truth, and that shows trust.
And that's why you should trust me. Yeah.
But it works.
It does, apparently.
It's so stupid, but it works. Keep that in mind if you ever go on Survivor, people. All right, so Tony's tribe, the Purple Tribe, wins immunity. They yell out top 5, specifically Tony.
Very loudly.
Very loudly, and we never get his point of view of why he does this.
Yeah, this is another time where it's like, was this a spur of the moment thing? Was this a planned thing?
Oh, I'm sure it was spur of the moment.
Probably, but at the same time, when Tony is spur of the moment, it seems to be strategic. But this was not in no way is this good strategy. It's very good to try and solidify, tighten your group and your bond, but like that's a very easy thing to whisper or to shout back at camp or whatever. Like the choice to yell it as they won immunity at the immunity challenge was, to me, just kind of dumb, especially if you want to reconnect with Sarah at all and just not look like a jerk. I don't know. Like sometimes overconfidence can be a downfall. Yeah.
So I actually I'm with you. I think it was a spur of the moment, not strategic, spur of the moment emotional thing said. if you see Tony this season, he has big emotional reactions to things, namely the Sarah blindside, when he's just like clapping and making like goofy faces where you have to look at him. You have to look at him because they don't ever cut close to him for some reason. But he's making these goofy faces and like just over exaggerates. And on later seasons, when Tony plays again, he will do these same things. And during challenges, will openly be emotional and like, hey guys, here's what they're doing. Like he's very into the challenges that they're doing.
Well, he's very animated.
And this season he does this too. He's like, hey guys, they're over there doing that, like a little bit, but more so in later seasons. Not to spoil, just saying Tony is like this in his whole tenure on Survivor that we've seen. So I believe that this was spur of the moment emotional. However, this could have been a 4D chess move. And here's how, if Tony had planned it out, but we never hear from him that he planned it out. Therefore, I don't think he did. Had he planned this out, this is really good because it takes the target off of Sarah, the lone brawn on the other tribe, who could be the easy target. Is that what Tony's thinking? I don't know. But unintentionally, he takes the target off of Sarah because there is a target on Sarah. She could have been the easy vote off. Let's go to the merge. Get rid of a brawn.
Right.
We can deal with us later. He takes the target off of Sarah, and Sarah's like, Sarah buys into it. She's like, I guess they have a 5 and I'm not involved because I would be number 6. And they didn't say 6. They said top 5.
Right, yeah.
So Sarah, as far as we know, believes it, as everything indicates she believes it. Next episode, when him and Sarah talk, he never says, hey, I said this to get the target off your back. Like that was an intention. Nothing like that.
Right.
And she's very wishy-washy with him because she hears this and it's part of her like, should I flip? Should I stick with my new alliance? You know?
Right.
So it could have been a 4D chess move, but it is not a 4D chess move. But it could have been had Tony just thought about it and been like, hey, Sarah, that was intentional.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely could have been. But since we don't ever hear him saying that.
I don't think he would.
I don't think he did say that.
I don't think he did say that.
So unfortunately, it was just an emotional outburst.
No. But it does take the target off Sarah's back. Alexis gets voted off. So we go to the merge. Cass is like, this is Cass. We haven't really talked about Cass, but this is how Cass talks. She's very to the point. She's all over the place, I feel like, in terms of good moves, bad moves. She likes to think every move she's made is a brilliant 4D chess move. But she tells Sarah, yeah, the only people I'm worried about flipping are like you and Jeremiah. I don't even say Jeremiah. The point is that she says to Sarah's face, I'm worried about you flipping.
Yeah.
Why are you saying this, Cass?
Yes.
And Sarah's like, she's calling me a liar. I thought calling me a liar. This is the beginning.
Yes, this is the beginning. So there's bad moves here for Cass and Sarah because Sarah gets really adamant about the vote she wants to happen.
This is before the merge, so we haven't gotten to that part yet. Okay. But she will be adamant.
Well, I thought it happened before the merge.
At this point, they said, we're going to be final 6. Sarah says, top 6 sounds a lot better than top 5, which means she can't do math because that's not better.
Well, her being...
And they're like, okay, in case there's a merge tomorrow, we agree we're going to vote off Jeffra.
Right.
All right. So then the next morning, Cass says, I'm worried about you flipping, Sarah. She hasn't actually said who her target is yet, who she wants to get out yet. At this point.
Okay.
So Cass is just poking the bear for no reason.
But yes, Cass definitely started with the bad moves here in this relationship. And I felt like Cass was the major reason for getting Garrett out in the first place. When you think, the logical thing would be get Jatia out. Jatia. And then it seems like here again, it's like she's so smart and yet she does stuff like this. Like on paper, why would you say, yeah, sure, Sarah probably is the one you want to be worried about flipping, but you don't say that, not to her face.
Cass, like you can't trust cops. Mind you, by the end of the episode, the cop will not be the one who flipped. Cass will be the one who flipped. Yes. So it's
crazy.
Cass is all over the place. Great addition to amazing to the season. Believe it or not, Mary, next time Cass plays, she will have learned.
Really?
She will openly acknowledge that she realizes she was too chaotic this season.
Oh, good.
Despite coming in 3rd place. And theoretically she should have been 2nd place. She was not going to win. She was going to be 2nd. Wu takes her. She doesn't win.
Right.
People can talk all day about how, oh no, the jury would have seen Cass and given her the No, Wu wins over Cass.
Yes.
Let's be real.
With how Cass played and how she treated people.
She doesn't beat Spencer. She doesn't beat Wu. She doesn't beat Tony.
Right. She would have been 2nd no matter what.
Yeah. There's no scenario in the top 4 where Cass is 1st, in my opinion. So anyways, here, poking the bear. Okay, so we go over to the Tony tribe, the purple tribe. This tribe has had one tribal council, like where they didn't have to go. Like they went to tribal, they had tribal off, and Tony's like, man, it's so boring around here. Like it's like he got a taste of blood, and now he wants more.
Now it's chill time.
No, it's merge time.
Well, yes.
That's why
he had a brief chill period.
Yeah.
Before merge.
He may have been bored the first 3 episodes, but they didn't show him saying it until now, so they could be like, time for the merge.
Right.
All right. So we have the merge. There is a clue that says, hey, there's a special idol hidden somewhere here at camp. It's never called a super idol. I don't even know if in season 12 or 13 it's called super idol, but they pretend like this idol has never existed before.
Mm-hmm.
And like we didn't see the same exact idol in season 12 and 13 where you played after the votes.
Right.
Then later in the reunion, they're like, Tyler Perry came up with the idea for an idol you could play after the votes. Has Tyler Perry seen all of Survivor? This is not a new idea.
Yeah, I don't know. That's weird.
I don't know, but I hate when Survivor forgets their own history. They will do this again, by the way, in the future. They'll do a season where they'll be like, well, this is the first season ever where we didn't give the players rice like we didn't do it back in season 4. They need like a Bible or something. Like they can just like quickly, it's called a show Bible, production Bible, whatever. And they can quickly search on the computer and see, have we done this before? Just like keywords like no rice. Oh, we did do that. Okay. Super idol. Idol you play after we did do that. It just seems crazy we forgot. It's just called
a special idol.
They just did it like 6 years ago. Or sorry, it's 2013, 2014. Seasons 12 and 13 were, I don't know, like 6, 7, 8 years ago. It's not like it wasn't like.
I'm sure they're assuming people just don't remember.
Right, but they act like Tyler Perry came up with it.
Yeah, because it's Tyler Perry.
I know, marketing wise. I'm just saying it's ridiculous to pretend that he came up with this idea that's already existed.
It is a little ridiculous. I agree.
What do you think about its inclusion this season? Because it's never, as far as of right now, has not been brought back since season 28.
I do like this idol to an extent, as long as you don't do it too often. Because it's like, I don't know. I kind of go back and forth. I like the idea of it, and obviously, if I'm playing on Survivor, I would want it to be in play so I can have it. Right, exactly. So that aspect is awesome. But at the same time, it kind of goes back to that thing where it's like, there's something sacred about the vote, and whether you have an idol or not, like, and playing your idol before the votes are out. Like, I don't know.
The vote is sacred as of season 28, isn't it?
to an extent, it is.
Here it is, still sacred.
Right. Yes. So I could see why it would be upsetting. And in this season, Tony he uses the idol, but not in that way.
Right.
So he makes use of it, but doesn't use it. So it doesn't, I think that was good in that it didn't ruffle anyone's feathers. But then again, can you imagine that happening? And then Tony pulling out his idol and everyone being like, what? Like another big move. I don't know. I see the pros and cons to both sides.
So here's how the super idol worked in seasons 12 and 13. Is you got to use up through the final 4 vote. It was good through the final 4 vote.
Mm-hmm.
And in season 12 is the final 2. So that meant there was 1 vote where you did not have an idol to save you. And that actually did Terry in season 12 because he was good through final 4, gets to final 3. He had to win immunity, couldn't win it, but had he won it, he wins the season more than likely.
Mm-hmm.
So super idol actually got him too. I mean, he was winning immunities like nobody's business too. Point being is that almost got him the win. In season 13, Yule gets it in like episode 2, and then it's good through the final 4, but that's the season where they introduced the final 3. So Yule's just safe the whole season and could play knowing that there's no tribal council where he goes. Like he basically has they need to spend 2 tribal councils to get him out.
Right.
So Yule plays the whole season knowing that. So like that, even though Yule didn't ever seem like he needed it based on how the show presented it, Yule always knew when he's playing, he always knew he had that in his pocket. So I'm sure it affected his decision making.
Mm-hmm.
We cut. So that's both times it's like, all right, in season 12, overpowered, but at least there was a spot where the person could go. Season 13, there was no time to get out Yule unless you spent 2 tribals on him. Now we cut, or what was it? Plan Voodoo with the credit card. And it's like, you do a split vote and then on a revote. And it's like a whole thing that Cowboy came up with. So this season, I think it's actually fair. The rules were, Tony took advantage, but the rules were fair. You could use it up through the final 5, but this is a season with the final 2. That means the 4 and 3 vote, you are eligible. To me, that's like That's
makes it more fair. Yeah.
There are 2 tribals where you were eligible. Now, Tony bluffs his way through Final Four with it, saying it's good through Final Four.
Right.
Nobody's like, let me see the note.
Right.
Of course, then again, why would he let them see the note? Just make them think it's good. Like, all right, you want to test it? Go for it, you know? But anyways, so Tony bluffs it into more power, but reality is that I think it was fair this season because there was a Final 2 and it was only good through Final 5.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
Tony just made it more powerful by lying.
It should never be too overpowered. Like, obviously, you don't want to be using it.
Right.
The final tribal or anything like that.
I don't think it should be brought back into Modern Survivor. Modern Survivor's changed the format a bit so that it's always a Final 3 now. There's never any Final 2s. This is the last season with the Final 2. We haven't had Final 2 since season 18. And this is season 28. So we have Final 2 out of left field for no reason explained on the show. It just kind of happens. And then they haven't done it again since Final 2. So it's just kind of, I think it's the Super Idol, frankly. That's why they did it. How close we got to Tony not winning this season because of that. Because of that Final 2 change. It was that close. All right. Anyways, there's a Super Idol somewhere on the island. Tony will later find it. Sarah's being inflexible. She's like, no, we're not voting off Jeffra. We're voting off Elger because that's what I want. And I'm the princess and I'm the queen. These are all things that come out of her mouth.
Yes.
If people tick me off enough, I'll just go to the other side. Like, what are you doing, Sarah?
Yeah. This is the spot I was thinking of where she starts making mistakes. And
she goes full villain.
She really does. I love Sarah. I think she's a great player. There's just one time she gets a little overconfident. She feels like she is in control because she's the swing vote or whatever, which she's been in that position before, but she handled it much better, much more humbly. And this time, she's basically threatening her alliance. Hey, I can go to the other side. This is what I want. We need to get what I want. And when you are on the bottom and you're that swing vote, that's as long as it's not me, that's the vote. That's the vote.
Sarah survives if she just goes with whatever her alliance wanted to do.
But she ticked off Cass, and therefore Cass flips.
Yep.
And it's like, it's her fault, really. Like, I mean, obviously Cass is a chaotic player, and she could have done whatever she wanted. Apparently, you can't seem to predict her. But at the same time, yes, it's very obvious that Sarah insulted her, and they have this whole fight. And they don't.
And Tasha tries to peacemake. She's like, I see both sides' points. And Cass is like, are you kidding me right now?
Yeah. And
how can there be both sides have a point?
Cass feels like she's just being, pacified and not heard.
Yes.
So, yeah, it really did come down to Sarah mistreating Cass to an extent and her whole alliance. And that was her downfall here.
That the rest of her alliance was like, all right, whatever. We got to deal with this because we need Sarah's number. And Tony even says that Sarah, he's like, yeah, but once they're up 6-4, they can get rid of you, Sarah. And they don't. And I don't know if they get rid of her at 6-4, maybe 6-3. They get rid of Sarah if Sarah's their extra appendage. But Tony makes a compelling argument. He's like, you and I have a bond. Tony at this point has not flipped on their bond.
Right.
In fact, Tony it's not really. I don't blame Tony for flipping on flipping on Sarah. He flips on her, but like she also would not commit. He says, I will take you to Final 3, and she's like, let me think about it. And then the next scene we get is them walking to tribal council while Cass is talking about what she's going to end up doing. And it's like, I would just vote off Sarah because basically Sarah never said yes. Right.
Yeah, you can't, if somebody doesn't, not that they immediately have to go along with your plan. Like in general, that is the best idea, whether you're going to do it or not. You say yes, but even so, like, it's always good to follow up. And we weren't shown any follow-up. And that could be because either Sarah never did a follow-up with Tony, or the follow-up was, no, I'm not going to stay with you or whatever.
I don't think she said no. I just think she said, let me get back to you, basically.
Yeah.
Which is trying to be honest.
But like, did she ever get back with him? That's what I'm saying.
But you also swore on your badge. So are you really being honest when you're flipping on him anyways?
Right. But who cares about honesty at this point in the game, I guess?
Tony in episode 1, by the way, is like, I am here to crush everyone else's dreams.
And I will lie, cheat, and still do it. Yeah.
I will swear on everything. Yes. I do not, like Tony says, I do not care. I am here to crush everyone else's dreams and make mine happen.
Yep.
And such a villainous thing to say, but that is how he plays. Like he was not joking. Yeah, Wu wins immunity, and Tony's in a close second. I do not remember Tony being close at all to any wins this season, but what did I know? Tony was close a couple times. This episode, they're standing on the thing in the water. Wu wins immunity because of his excellent balance. He does a backflip off of it. Yeah. Sarah, though, is like, we have to get out LJ or Tony. Sarah's the one suggesting Tony. Tony was not suggesting Sarah until Sarah would not agree to an alliance, to like getting back with Tony.
Right.
idiot. Just idiot move. I mean, I'm saying this now, but it's just dumb move. Of course, we know everything, or everything that is needed to be known.
Right. We know the final story.
Yeah, we know how this plays out. So we go to tribal. Tony plays an idol for LJ. LJ plays an idol for Tony. On paper, a brilliant move.
Yeah.
Like, they covered each other's butts. Shows trust, by the way. The moment Tony plays his idol for LJ and not himself, smart.
Yeah.
Brilliant, actually. Like, that solidified an alliance with LJ's not going to turn on somebody who just play their idol for them.
Right.
LJ plays his idol for Tony.
Right.
He's like, cool. I think we're the top targets. If it was Sarah's way, he would have been correct. Sarah wanted one of them. So had they done Sarah's plan, had Sarah strong-armed them into voting for LJ or Tony, who's out the door? Sarah.
Right.
They're voting off Sarah.
Right.
They're voting, even without Cass flipping, they vote Sarah. But her alliance, Sarah's alliance was smarter than her, and they voted Jeffra. Not that it mattered in terms of the end result, but Sarah would have gotten herself voted off had they done what she said. Yeah.
She still gets herself voted off.
The vote.
Yeah.
The vote goes, we get both outs played. They're like all smiles. Everybody's like, kind of like, what the heck? First vote, Jeffra. Jeffra's like, oh my gosh. She starts tearing up and crying. Everyone's like deflated. Spencer's in the back, like with his like big old grin on his face. Sarah, Jeffra, Sarah, Jeffra, Sarah, Jeffra, Sarah, Jeffra. We have one vote remaining. It's like at this point, it's tied 5-5. And Mary, by the way, is on Instagram. As we're watching this moment, I could not believe it. I'm like, Mary, get off your phone.
I swore that Sarah went farther in the game. I thought it was Jeffra.
Here's the thing. We just got done watching One World, where everything, minus the tribal where men go on purpose, is predictable.
Right.
I would never knock you for checking your phone. Not like Mary was scrolling the whole episode. She just checked her phone. And I'm like, oh no. I was like, Mary, stop it. You have to watch. She's like, what? Sarah's voted off. And Mary's like, what? And I'm like, Mary, you can't check your phone during tribals this season.
Yeah, it was intense.
It was. Yeah, it was pretty crazy tribal council. Tony's like clapping. Everyone's cheering. And then if you stare at Tony, this whole tribal council, he's making goofy faces in the background of every shot.
Is this where Spencer says Cass won't win or something?
Zero chance of winning the game.
Yeah.
She's like, well, it's a long game.
Yeah.
Yep. And she was right. I mean, I don't know. I think Cass was zero chance of winning the game just based on how Cass doing this move or not doing this move. Cass, zero chance of winning the game just for how she was perceived by others and how she treated others, basically. So, all right. So we go to episode 7, and Spencer is so mad at Cass and says, oh, she just follows her estrogen. Spencer and Cass were kind of meant for each other because they both make these kinds of remarks about each other.
Yes. All the time.
I don't know if it's
and
this
yet
episode.
They work together like all the time.
They work together and they also trash on each other.
Yeah.
Because Cass will be like, who is the most selfish person on the planet? A college age male. And I'm like, have you met children? I think actual children are like little, I don't know. That's a hard comparison. I guess who's the most selfish adult planet? If you want to say college age male, maybe. Okay. I could believe that. But just person in general.
Yeah, because they truly are more selfish because they have the capability of using their brain to see others. Like children don't have that capability yet. Yeah. So.
Okay. Well, point being is they're both being sexist. Spencer says Cass is following her estrogen. Sexist. Cass says college age males are the most selfish people on planet Earth. Sexist.
I mean, she wasn't wrong though, because Spencer did end up playing his idol
Mary,
for himself.
stop supporting sexist statements.
No,
they're both being sexist.
She was right in what she was saying about Spencer.
No, she's right that Spencer. Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, I could totally see Spencer playing an idol for his alliance for someone else to save them.
Right. If he thought
it didn't happen, but I could see it happening.
Right. Because he's strategic enough, I think, to do that. Yeah.
Spencer, that's funny because Spencer tries to play this tries to make moves based on as little emotion as possible. And Cass presents that as well, but Cass clearly had emotion involved in the Sarah flip. Strategically, Sarah was not going to the end in this 6 alliance. It didn't seem like that.
Mm-hmm.
There was no reason strategically to do it. It was an emotional decision, and I applaud Cass for doing it. It made for an excellent tribal council, and it definitely kicks off the merge in a fun way, the post-merge game. I don't know if this is when Tony says it, but Morgan is a pillow, I wrote. Though at some point Tony says, you know it's bad when even Morgan, who is known as a pillow, is up looking for the idol. I don't know if this is when that's happening. Morgan's a pillow, and she calls Cass a bitter old lady who's basically jealous of how hot Morgan is.
Yeah. I don't think Cass cared about Morgan at
I
all.
don't think Cass was like worried about the looks. Yeah. So their reward, Mary, this season is the Outback Steakhouse, which is a reoccurring theme of the 20s, I believe, in terms of restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
Grilled pineapple Rita is the item they're selling.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think 10 plus years later that this is still an item at Outback Steakhouse?
I doubt it, but I haven't been to an Outback Steakhouse in a long time.
Would you try one if it was a virgin? Because I know you don't drink alcohol.
Probably not.
I would try it.
I'm not a big, like, if I want to eat pineapple, I'm going to eat pineapple. I'm not a big fan of like.
At that point, is it just pineapple juice?
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
Without the alcohol.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And then you're overpaying for it. You're paying like $7 for
pineapple
a
juice.
virgin pineapple.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's their big selling point. It's always you guys see whenever you get one of these restaurants, like, all right, what's the item they're pushing?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the shark bowl, the pineapple Rita, the fudge brownie, or whatever? You know, what is the item they're really pushing this time? All right, so Cass is a free agent, and Spencer gets an idol clue. Oh, here we go, the idol clue. So Cass is a free agent. I feel like we kind of knew that one. I wrote it down maybe because she publicly declared it in a confessional or whatever to us.
Yes.
But like,
that's
obviously after that flip, she's not really picked a side.
And yet, although she says that, she still like is going to Tony's lines. Oh, protect me! They're all going to come after me.
Cass loves to play victim.
You're not really a free agent then.
She loves to play victim. It's one of her things to do. Like, I didn't do anything. As she has a smirk on her face.
Right.
Yeah, that's Cass's thing. Wu spies on Spencer with his ninja stealth mode, as he says. Wu basically comes into his own. I mean, in the pre-merge, he definitely had a moment where he's like, I see myself with me and Cliff, and we're like shooting basketball as buddies. He has a moment like that, but more of his moments like that are in the post-merge game. Mm-hmm. This is one of them. Yeah. And he made ninja stealth mode, and he follows Spencer around. And he steals the clue. Weasel Wu gets the clue. Everyone then looks. This is when the Morgan's a pillow comment comes up from Tony.
Mm-hmm.
Spencer still finds it though, despite everyone looking. So good for him.
This was one of the moments I was like, yes, go Spencer. Because he's back on the bottom again. He's been on the bottom like the whole game.
Well, when is he really not on the bottom?
He had a few moments of being okay once the pre-merge, the tribe swap. Yeah, the tribe swap happened. But yeah, it's just like, I rooted for Spencer for sure the whole season. And I was super happy this happened right under Cass's nose, who's supposed to be babysitting him, you know, like his arch nemesis / mom. Yeah. Anyway, so it was just
/ mom. Yeah. My mom is my arch nemesis.
That's what it feels like the whole season. But anyway, so yeah, that was a fun moment. I'm glad he still got it, you know, despite everything that happened. So, and even Tony Wu doing his whole sneak ninja run and stealing his pants and everything. Well, not stealing his pants, but you know, stealing the clue from his pants. That was really fun too. But I'm glad Spencer got the idol. Spencer
wins immunity. I think this is the immunity where they had to go count items. If it's not, I like that one.
Yes.
It's such a simple one to set up. And seeing people mess up over and over is fun. I don't know if this is that one, but Spencer wins immunity here. And if this isn't that one, he wins immunity whenever they do that one too. It's not this one. So he wins immunity. He approaches Cass about working with him. And she's like, well, look what we have here. That's what I thought. People would work with me anyways. She wasn't wrong. I mean, what she's not considering is that it tanks her, how the jury's going to look at her.
Right. Which is one reason Spencer is still working with her.
Yeah. He's like, 0 chance of winning means the jury. It doesn't mean 0 chance we're going to work with you again. Right. But that's not how Cass like, well, look what we have here. So Morgan's voted off. Bye-bye pillow. Episode 8. Tony said he almost pooped himself when he saw his name coming up in the votes. It's funny because Tony, like, despite winning the season, he is a big target. Like, he's mentioned a lot. Mm-hmm. He's not like under the radar. I mean, he's not under the radar, but he's not like under the radar when it comes to votes. Like, people know Tony's a threat and he needs to go.
Right.
That's why Sarah wanted to get him off.
Yeah.
She's like, we got to get Tony or LJ out.
Well, and this is one of those times where like Tony is such a good example of a winner who plays hard and strategic and social. And gets
entertaining.
Right. And he's entertaining. So like, he's such a good winner. And even though he has his flaws and he has his moments, but
so many,
but it's nice to see that somebody who's viewed as a threat gets the end and wins. You know what I mean? Because that doesn't often happen. So yeah, I mean, I like the fact that he gets votes because again, it's just proving to other people that he has the potential to win at the end.
people compare him a lot to Russell Hantz. And I only bring that up because totally different, by the way. People did not like Russell Hantz. People liked Tony. Tony was not actively trying to, he was not like, okay, so here's an example of Russell Hantz versus Tony. Russell Hantz would say, gosh, what was his name? If Jason can win 2 immunities, anyone can win 2 immunities. Russell didn't care. He talks smack about everybody, even his closest allies.
Yeah.
And while Tony does say things, it never is with like malicious intent.
Yeah.
Like Tony's playing a game and the way he comes across is different. Of course he has a different cast. Everyone has a different cast every season. But the way Tony goes about things, he's not like out there to start fights and cause fights.
Mm-hmm.
He's out there to play a strategic game, a messy strategic game, but a strategic game. Russell actively tried to cause fight. Like he was purposefully poking the bear, he would tell Natalie to her face, you suck. The jury's going to vote for me. How do you feel about second place? You got to do better than that to get second place. Tony never said anything like that to anybody.
Right.
Tony was not like that. He was like, Tony caused drama, but it wasn't causing drama by starting fights. He was causing drama by the way he's playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
And Russell was just like emotionally causing. I say this because this is a moment though I was like, okay, this is a good comparison to Russell. Tony baits LJ into saying Woo's name so he can, and I mean this, Tony does like, Tony runs a marathon to get LJ to take one step.
Yes, exactly. Well, I think the difference for me between, because I love Tony and I cannot stand Russell Hantz, I feel like one of the biggest differences is like Tony's goal is always the win. Like every move that he does, every strategy, he's always saying, I'm doing this because I have to win. Because
I think this will be a good move for my game.
Right.
Russell does things emotionally.
He would do things that was just mean for no reason. Mm-hmm. It felt like and looked
That's
like.
what the juries would say too.
Yeah.
He's just being mean for no reason.
Right.
There's no strategic reason to do something. He told Rupert to his face in front of everybody, oh, look, the second coming of Christ, Rupert, like you don't, why? That's not a game move.
Right.
It's emotion.
Right. Exactly.
Tony doesn't do things like that.
I mean,
except for the llama.
Yes.
But the llama again was such a goofy
more
thing.
Funny than anything. Goofy. It was him trying to diffuse tension. Yeah.
Oh yeah, talk like a llama too. And like people are laughing in the background.
Yes.
Like that's the difference. Nobody's laughing when Russell Hantz is fighting with Rupert in front of everybody. They're like, oh, this is Russell.
And we see Tony trying to diffuse fights at other times, like when Lindsay and Trish were going at it.
Like,
he was
guys,
the one that was trying to like pull them apart. So yeah, we see clearly like Tony is more like his moves he's making. He's doing it because again, that goal of winning is in his mind, which I can appreciate and respect. He
is not out there. He's not out there. He's playing with emotion, but it's not with emotion of a malicious intent. Whereas Russell played with malicious intent. These dumb girls, I'm going to drag to the end because they're so dumb. And then proceeds to vote them all off except for Natalie. Like, okay, what? Where's the strategy here? I thought that you were dragging them all to the end, Russell. Yeah. Anyways, Tony baits LJ into saying Woo's name. Does so much work to get this to happen, just so he can say that LJ's targeting Woo. But at the end of the day, everyone kind of sees through it.
Right.
But the only reason LJ goes out is because he flips to the opposite alliance and works with them and makes this move happen. While also dragging Trish, the gullible one, who she openly claims I'm gullible. I believe you have the wiki. I don't have it in front of me. But how this vote goes down, I'm pretty sure he drags Trish with him over to the tell me who voted for LJ on this vote, if you could.
I'm looking.
All right. I'm pretty sure it's him and Trish. Maybe Woo. But anyways. Yeah. So Tony baits LJ into saying Woo's name, and it's just like you can't find it.
No.
It's at the bottom, and you got to scroll over to the right if it's on your phone. That's okay. Don't worry about it. All right. So Tony, Spencer, and Jeremiah win a spa day. I don't think Survivor imagined showing 3 dudes doing a spa day, but that's what happened.
I'm sure that's not what they were going for.
Probably hoping Morgan was still there.
Right.
Morgan, Alexis, Jeffra kind of thing, but that's not what they got. Tony talks to LJ, and I wrote, and he ghosts her.
Oh.
Who ghosted who?
Tasha.
Why did I wrote her? Her is very not specific, Wesley.
No, LJ Tasha tries to talk to LJ.
Oh.
And LJ ghosts her.
I don't know why I said Tony. Tasha. Yeah, Tasha goes to LJ.
Tasha's like, hey, can we go talk?
Yeah, come talk with me over here.
And LJ's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then she walks away and he doesn't go.
What a jerk.
Yeah.
Tasha takes it though, like well enough for what happens. But yeah, I'm like, who knew you could ghost somebody on the same beach? Like she's like, walk over here 20 feet with me around this bush.
Right.
LG's like, yeah.
Well, you can kind of see on his face, like he was being nice and he considered it. And then he's like, no, I don't need to go. I did find the vote. We're talking about the Tasha vote, right?
Oh no, we're talking about the LJ vote. I want to know who voted out LJ.
Oh, sorry.
It should be episode 8, I believe, or maybe 9 on there. I don't know how the wiki lists it.
Trish voted for Jeremiah that episode. So yeah.
Okay, so who did Tony pull over when they voted out LJ? When LJ was voted out, who did Tony pull over with him?
Cass, Spencer.
Cass and Spencer on the bottom.
Yeah.
Tasha probably voted for LJ.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Tasha.
Tasha was on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremiah voted LJ.
And of course Jeremiah.
Mary's looking on her phone and Sprite Wiki's not
I'm
very.
having to like scroll back.
Yeah,
and forth.
it's not very intuitive on the phone.
Yeah, but that's who all voted for Jeremiah.
Okay. All right, so he's pinning all this trouble on LJ. Tasha wins immunity, the first of her 3 immunities this season, which will put a big target on her back, but she kind of needs them.
She did need it.
Yeah. Trish has told the truth about the Woo plan, and Tony has to work overtime to get Trish on his side. That's why I said, did Trish not vote for LJ on this vote? She voted for Jeremiah?
She voted for Jeremiah. She voted
Trish?
with
Really?
LJ, yes.
Oh, okay, so I guess it didn't work.
She didn't want to give LJ out, yeah.
Yeah, this is the tribal, though, where Tony brings up his bag of tricks.
Oh, yeah. He has one like from here on to the rest of the
Yeah, this is where he brings the bag of tricks, acting like he says a bunch of things. You just never know what's in there.
Right.
Does it work? Maybe.
I guess so. Yeah, it works pretty much every time, I guess.
So how do you feel about him flipping on LJ and voting him off in this episode?
I think it's a smart thing to do. He's got the numbers on his side. LJ is a big threat. We hear from Tony that he is so like calm and people like him and he's strategic. He's good in the challenges.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense. And I think that was it maybe a vote or two too early? Sure. But at the same time, especially with somebody who could be a challenge beast, which he never did win one, but he was typically, I don't know. Sometimes I felt like he was close to the end. Sometimes he was out early, but
he looks like a challenge beast.
He does look like a challenge. I feel like more of it had to do with like people were gravitating to him.
Yes.
Trish, who was one of Tony's closest alliance members, was gravitating towards LJ. So yeah,
well,
I think
he was hot, Mary. He's hot.
Yeah, I think it was
Trish's age. I think is what it is too.
It was just a threat Tony didn't want to wait till later to take care of it, and he took care of it, and it was a smart move.
It ends up being a smart move, but man, is it risky because he then has to explain to his alliance why he's targeting you, Woo, and of course Woo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
No. Yeah. Of course we gotta get LJ. Yeah. So I don't know. So here's the thing: if he rides, I'm glad he did because it makes the season more chaotic. Tony flipping, and he does it. By the way, I want to point out every other vote.
Mm-hmm.
Now the next vote will be Jeremiah, and that's a predictable safe vote.
Right.
Then Jeffra's got to go.
Right.
That's a flip.
Well,
then the safe vote of Tasha, and then Trish has got to go. Every other vote, Tony does something where he flips on his own alliance, and they buy into him being on their side.
Yes.
Because he does a safe vote. Yes. Every other vote, Tony flips.
No, it's really smart. It really is, and he does so good at calming his alliance down about the vote previously. And I mean, good for him. It worked out for him. It wouldn't work with every person, and it wouldn't work with, every person who flipped. Like it didn't work with Cass. She would flip flop.
And you'll see Trish explaining to people, "Oh no, Tony's good. He's on our side." I'm like, Trish just trust Tony way too much.
Yes. She definitely backed him up constantly.
Mm-hmm. Tony was doing chaos, and Trish was socially helping Tony.
Mm-hmm.
Without Trish, I don't know if Tony gets the end of wins.
Which is what Trish says in Final Tribal.
It's true. Like he needed Trish. It's not presented as a duo in that sense. Like Trish almost like a background character a lot of times.
Right.
But Trish is actually integral to Tony's game.
It's true.
And he and her, they connect like right away at episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's Sarah and Tony have the bigger storyline because I think it's more of an explosive finale.
Right.
Obviously. But yeah, Trish is integral to Tony's game, and it's understated. Also, I want to point out I will link this one in the description if I remember. I have a My Name is Tony video where someone did a cover of a Hamilton song. My name is Alexander Hamilton, but they did My Name is Tony Vlachos. And It is so good. I did the video for it. I did not make the audio. It's an unlisted video, but I will link to it. It's really good. Starts a little slow. Some people were like, oh, they didn't think the song was good. But it's like, no, you gotta listen because it ramps up the whole song ramps up. That was my only criticism I saw, but I'm like, I didn't make the song. I made the video for it. So anyways, check it out. Link in the description. It's pretty good. But it gets into all this in a very musical way. It's so good. It gets stuck in my head sometimes. It does. I mean, the Hamilton play is really good. And then of course they just took the music from that and did their own lyrics. So Tony sprints into the forest. This is not the first time, but it's definitely one of the times. And he makes his spy shack, the real spy shack that we talked about earlier.
Right.
How much does this spy shack actually affect the game?
Again, yeah, I don't. Does he hear like one conversation?
He hears Jeffra and Trish talking, but like, did this really affect? Like, Jeremiah goes out this episode, Jeffra goes out the next episode, and maybe this is the catalyst for Jeffra. Maybe, but it's definitely edited to be bigger than I think it really was.
Right. Yeah, because how often can you just disappear and sit in your spy shack? Like,
all these camera angles of him too. You know, they had to be like, hey, Tony, can you get back in there so we can get a close up of you peeking out? Because like, otherwise, imagine you, Mary, or Trish or Jeff are at the water while talking to someone else. You see a cameraman pointed right at there's a piece of like shrubbery, and they're like, why are they? Must be getting an insect or something.
Yeah,
insect
I'm getting
shot.
A close up of a snake. Don't come over here.
Don't come over here. I'm getting a shot of a bug. Tony's peeking out. Look. Tony plays into it so hard though. I love it. Tony has too much energy. He has the energy of a 5-year-old child at all times during the season. How does he have this much energy?
I don't know.
I don't know, but I love it. I don't know. Dude's older than us, Mary, by the way, this season. And I'm like, if I had this much energy now, let alone when I'm that age, holy cow, so much. He has a wife and kids. Yeah. I wonder if he slowed down at all. I mean, this was
I'm sure
10 plus years ago. All right, so Wu gets papaya, falls off the tree, just takes it like a man. I mean, holy cow, I thought he was going to be injured.
Takes it like a young man.
Yeah, yes. You're talking about energy. Wu has athletic energy is what that is.
Yeah. Yeah, when it happened, I'm pretty sure I audibly gasped because I didn't remember that happening either the second time watching through. And I was like, oh my gosh. We have a medical evacuation for a broken butt.
Yeah, Wu's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm like, if you were any older, that's going to be super, like, you're going to feel that. Yes. And it's going to affect you the rest of the game. It did not affect him.
Nope, he was fine.
It kind of happens. Tasha wins immunity number 2. Tasha and Jeffra want Tony out. So, I mean, like, Tony's constantly a big threat. He runs into the forest again, finds the super idol. Now Tony's playing with house money, with the super idol in his pocket. Yeah. Now he knows for a fact he can get away with his nonsense. Thank goodness. I want to say, I think it's only made for good TV, the Super Idol. It's never been played though. The Super Idol's only been in pockets. It's never actually been played, but it made for good TV when Terry had it because he was the underdog against the majority alliance who was picking off his whole alliance, but they could never get him off because he was winning immunities and he had the Super Idol. Then when Yule had it, Yule's playing with house money and he played one of the most impressive games to watch. Tony has the Super Idol. He's already playing a good game, but now he's playing with house money knowing that I'm safe. Right. They can never actually blindside me.
True. And I wonder how, like, that definitely has to be one of the pros of the Super Idol is because when a player has it, they have to be more confident. And that could be a bad thing where like they get cocky or whatever, but sometimes, you know, a little confidence, a little risk is really good in this game. So it definitely didn't.
Especially in the right hands.
Right. In the right hands. It definitely didn't hurt.
Like if
Tony.
Morgan had the Super Idol.
Sure.
Oh my gosh. She was just napped all day, every day. And then they would have voted her off. She'd be like, oh, I guess I got to play this. She would have saved herself. They'd be like, Morgan had this Super Idol. And then she'd be like, yeah. That would have been that. That would have been like very.
That would have been terrible.
Anti-dramatic. Somebody else would have gone home. So not everyone's built to have the Super Idol in their pocket and make it fun. But it's worked every time. Right. I don't think it's something that should come off the table. I do think that the power needs to be limited on how far in the game you can go with it. And this season, I think they did it smart. they were smart picking it stops at final 5. In this season, there's a final 2.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're ever going to bring it back, I think it needs to stop at like final 6, final 5. Whatever is a safe point where you still have an opportunity to be gone. Especially in the final 3 season, probably final 6 needs to be when it ends. So final 5, final 4, you still could go out.
Yeah.
Without it in your pocket. But I do think it makes for fun TV as much as it breaks the game at the same time. He finds a super idol, swears on everyone out in the water. Now, Tony's playing with house money. He's like, I swear on my mother, my brother, my father, my kids, whatever, or my baby, whatever. Yeah, so Tony's just swearing at everybody. He does not care. Right. He's playing with no morals. None. He's just swearing his badge. He doesn't care. He'll swear on everything.
Yep.
Yeah. And Trish is basically covering for him unintentionally. She's like, oh, we can trust Tony. Tony's on our side. Yeah. Just when Jeremiah confesses
that he's a fashion model.
I cannot believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. You look at him, you're like, yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You look like you do blue jean modeling. I don't know.
The thing is, we never heard what he said his fake job was.
So like it was just kind of came out of left field.
Yeah.
There's no build up.
He worked at Starbucks or something.
Yeah. Like,
those are the only 2 things I would believe.
I work at a horse ranch. LG's like, you do? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways.
All right. So we go to Tribal. Tony pulls out his real idol and says, Jeff, this is a fake.
Yeah, I don't.
What's the move here?
Right. I don't understand that. Maybe to pull some, but why would he want votes on him?
This is 40 chess and I'm not playing it, apparently.
I didn't get this one either, really.
I'm not sure what the move here. To reveal that your idol is fake, but why?
He's always trying to keep people on their toes, I guess.
Yeah.
Because, is it a double bluff? Which it was, but it was more like a triple bluff,
and actually it is a fake.
It was more like a triple bluff in the sense of like he just wants people to be second guessing everything. Yeah. So
Jeremiah's voted out. This one, Cass makes her remark. By the way, when I say sexist, I am joking. Like I'm not sitting here being like sitting on some moral high ground. Like, oh, they're just both so sexist. I just think it's funny how they both kind of say the same things about each other behind each other's backs. It's almost like they're meant for each other. They have as frenemies.
Yes, like they have frenemies, similar personalities.
Yes,
for sure.
They're more similar than they know. We then get the auction and no one is really bidding. Now, this is the beginning of the end for the auction.
Yeah.
For those who know, this is the beginning of the end for the auction. This is the first auction where I think Jeff's like, people are not bidding on food. And I think won ribs for like $40.
Right.
He could have won it for 20, by the way. He bid 40. He could have bid 20. He could have started with 20. He could have won for 20.
He started with 40.
He started with 40 and ended at 40. And Trish's like, what are you guys doing? Buy food. But no, like Tasha, 3 of them out of, I don't know where we are.
Tasha, Tony, and Spencer.
Yeah, 3 of them out of how many people? We're at like final 7 here, maybe. Final 8, maybe. I forget where we're at. But basically, almost half the cast is just not bidding on anything because they want an advantage or an idol or whatever. So, yeah, they're sitting on that. People are getting great deals. It's a fun auction. I mean, when Wu gets his ribs,
he's like describing it.
Tip of that guac. And Jeff's like juicy, and Wu's like tender. Wu is just like he's a side character. He should not be a main character in the story, but when he comes into the limelight, it's fun.
It is fun. He brings some life and energy.
Yes, Wu brings an energy that no one else is bringing, and I appreciate it. So only Spencer and Tony end up bidding. Tony wins the advantage, which I think, is this not an idol clue?
Yes, it was an idol clue.
Yeah, it was an advantage in the challenge. Jeff called it an advantage, though. Right. An advantage in the game, I guess.
Game, yes.
Whereas, and then Tasha's like, didn't bid because she was waiting for an idol clue. Little did she know.
Right.
How things would have changed had Tasha put her 500 in here and they drew rocks and she won it and not Tony.
Yeah.
Because Tasha goes out after winning 3 immunities, but maybe another vote. Who knows what happens?
Who knows?
So anyways, so Tony was the advantage and Cass like, I love how Spencer looks dejected not getting the advantage. So I mean, like they're frenemies.
Yeah.
They're meant for each other. Tasha purposely hangs out with the women in the water, trying to like make social bonds, in my opinion. And Tony's getting paranoid about the women making a women's alliance. He's like, I hadn't thought about this. Right. What if the women are all conspiring against me?
Well, I also think that Tasha wanted Tony to think that.
Oh, yes, that's right. It was a purposeful move.
She purposely did that to make Tony paranoid.
Because he's a paranoid player.
Because he is pretty paranoid, yeah. Yep.
Did it work out in her favor? I mean, Jeffrey does got this episode.
Right. It wasn't Tasha, but Tasha won immunity.
Tasha wins her 3rd immunity, yes. So Tony finds another idol. So he's sitting on 2 now. He has the super idol and he had 3 this season, but he's sitting on 2 at this moment. He has a normal idol and the super idol.
Mm-hmm.
Craziness. He shows his alliance his idol. I believe this is just the normal one. So they know, oh, shoot, we can't get out Tony even if we wanted to now.
Mm-hmm.
Not knowing. I had no idea. Tasha wins immunity number 3. Tony wants a girl out. So Tasha basically kind of propelled this, let's get a woman out. But Tasha winning all these immunities definitely did not. If she was like first out of immunities, I think maybe she buys more time.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think if I remember correctly, like Spencer was kind of pivotal in this episode too, of also talking to Tony about maybe a woman's alliance and maybe Jeffrey wanting Tony out. So like he was also planting seeds. Tony was paranoid. It was a perfect time.
It was good timing.
Spencer was trying to make sure he saved himself because he was, not.
Yeah, Spencer and Tasha's plan I wrote. Yes, you're right. It was both of them. They were kind of in on it together.
Right. So.
Not Cass, though, because she hates Spencer at the moment.
They weren't working together.
At this time, they're not working together.
Yeah.
So Tony wears his idol around his neck at Tribal. Jeffrey's voted out in a blind side. It'll be fun to make Tony's video. I just finished Sarah's video today as of us recording. When I make Tony's video for the season, it will be fun to show like what people are saying on Ponderosa and in their final words about Tony. Because Sarah and her, she is like, Tony is a terrible cop. All of his partners should be scared to work with Tony because Tony's going to turn his back on them in a moment's notice. Like, that's what I mean. Like, and that's as far as like, I haven't done the whole jury. I just watched Sarah's after the game stuff that she says right away. That's when it went fresh. The wound is fresh of being voted out. So when people say, in my opinion, the most telling things about how they're going to vote. Though I think Sarah still votes for Tony. I don't know which 2. I think 2 people voted for Woo, and you could double check that. I forgot exactly who they were. So, all right. Tony's telling. Okay. All right. So we go to episode 11. Cass hates being left out of the vote, which has happened twice now. Tony talks about the ladies while they lay in bed. Now he's not talking about them in the way that Cass takes it, though.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what he was saying.
It wasn't super important.
It wasn't. Yeah, it was.
But it was interpreted like it was an attack on Cass.
Yes. Cass definitely took it the wrong way. And it was a big mess.
I mean, Tony was talking. I'm like, yeah, okay. And then Spencer backs him up. He's like, Tony wasn't doing anything. Spencer wasn't Are you looking at the final vote?
Yeah, I'm looking at the final vote, but only one person voted for Woo. And that was Tasha.
Okay. All right. So he only loses Tasha's vote. I think Woo did not garner. Of course, he was also known as Weasel Woo. But he didn't garner respect from the jury picking Tony over Cass. I think Woo wins against Cass.
Oh, yeah.
Would you vote for Chaos Cass or Weasel Woo, I think I have to vote for Weasel Woo because likely Cass treated me like dirt at some time.
Right.
And Woo did not.
Right.
But what do I know? So anyways, Tony then fights with Cass because Cass doesn't believe him when he's telling the truth. Of course, Tony's like, for once, I'm telling the truth. Spencer's like, for once, Tony's telling the truth.
Right.
And he says, she acts 4, I wrote. That's got to be a mistype. She acts like she's 4, maybe? I don't know. He then emotionally, this is a Russell Hantz move, reveals he has the super idol. And everyone's like, now everyone knows he has 2 idols. I mean, he revealed his normal idol to his alliance, but if word didn't get around, I'd be surprised. He now has revealed he has the super idol.
And this felt like an emotional decision because it was in the middle of the fight and he was just like, and guess what? You're not going to get me out.
Yeah. I have the idol with special powers, they call it this season. But
he just said special powers. And I'm not going to
calling it super idol here.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's what it is. Idol with special powers. And the longer way is saying the super idol. Woo. Okay. So then we have the reward challenge. So much happens before the reward challenge. Or maybe it's reward.
Yeah.
Spencer, Cass, and Woo win reward. By the way, spoiled by Paramount Plus before we watched it. Or was
every episode is spoiled by Paramount if you let it play.
This one spoiled who won the reward before. It was like showing them at the. I mean, I already remembered that they won this, but still, I was like, come on, Paramount Plus, you have to spoil who wins the challenge. Anyway, Spencer, Cass, and Woo win reward. Woo loves the reward. Spencer's like, I hate children, but it's okay, I guess.
But it was fun.
I don't know if we really heard from Cass. And then Woo is like hamming it up for the kids. Woo was more endearing.
What we heard from Cass was, I was surprised to see Woo be like, this is the most I've ever seen him talk or be active or whatever. So
Spencer's was about himself. Yes. Cass is about Woo, and Woo is being
about
himself.
The kids. Yeah. Right. Basically.
That's what I'm saying. We didn't really hear from Cass whether she hates kids.
Right.
Woo loves kids. Spencer hates kids. So what is Cass? I'm guessing Cass more like Spencer than we know.
Probably.
That's all I'm trying to say. Anyways, Cass wants to flush out Tony's idol. Yes, that's the right move.
Right.
Spencer wins immunity, and Tasha is not scrambling, and she's voted off. I think Tasha knew the writing's on the wall. She has nothing. What's she gonna do? I mean, it's not a great move, but I don't know. She wasn't scrambling.
Yeah, you never. I don't care if the writing's on the wall or not. Like, if you're gonna go home, at least try. That's my opinion. I felt more like she was comfortable.
At least dump the rice.
I don't
in the
know
fire.
how she. No,
it worked for Jatia.
No, don't dump the rice in the fire.
It worked for Jatia, Mary.
I'm not sure how.
Can't ignore the strategy.
I felt like she was going into it feeling comfortable. Maybe I was wrong.
Oh, well, I just put she isn't scrambling, so.
No, I remember. You're right. At tribal council, she was kind of just like, yeah, there was no point because they're all pretty tight or whatever. But yeah, that sucks.
It's a kind of that's what I mean. Like, I feel like Tasha, I remember Tasha more, maybe it's for her next time playing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Tasha's voted off. That's the safe vote. Tony did his flip vote on Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Now he did the safe vote. Next up is a flip vote because every other vote he flips on his alliance. Episode 12, Cass says taking Tony to the end might be her best decision because he's burned so many bridges. And at this point, I'm like, yeah, that's not a bad. I mean, at the same time, Tony's done so many things, but she's not wrong in her assessment. 27 seasons of Survivor of Evidence. I don't know if they've seen all of Blood versus Water at this point, but 27 seasons of Survivor of Evidence. Let's say 26. It's not a bad. This is the guy's going crazy. He's burning bridges along the way. People are crying on the way out the door, saying negative things about Tony. She's not wrong. I mean, she's not like wrong. It's just that, is Cass going to beat him at the end? No. Yeah. Spencer beats him at the end.
I don't know about that.
Spencer beats him at the end. That's confirmed.
Oh, yeah.
Ponderosa videos are very blatant.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, Spencer, you were going to win. Spencer's so upset too. He's like, oh my gosh, you guys kidding me? Like, no, Spencer, you won. You won the game if you reached the end.
No.
Spencer had the underdog.
Right.
Tony was not the underdog. Tony was the overdog.
True.
And I think it's very telling. I think it's fun to watch. Some players can do underdog and be overdogs. May not be the right way of saying it, but I think people listening get what I'm saying.
Top dog.
Some people are best as an underdog, and some people with their backs to the wall. Sandra.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are better when they're top dog. Thank you, Boston Rob. Boston Rob cannot be underdog and play well. He's underdog and entertaining, but he doesn't play well.
Mm-hmm.
Sandra is more fun when she has her back to the wall. That's when she's the most sassy. She does the most fun things, and that's when she plays the best too. Is when she's underdog. Spencer is more fun as an underdog. Like this season, as I said, I couldn't imagine him being top dog. He might be more like insufferable.
Yeah.
Tony, I think, works either way.
Yeah.
This season, he works either way. In the future, Tony in any season works. No matter where you put him, Tony's going to be Tony, and so it works. So yeah. Anyways, I'm saying Cass isn't wrong. Taking Tony to the end is a good decision, bad decision, whatever. It's just Cass is not
good for
Tony.
her. Yeah,
not good for her. Woo thinks the same thing though, and this is probably our first hint of what Woo is really going to do at the end. Because Woo thinks the same. He's like, yeah, Tony at the end, I could beat. Like, Tony can be beaten.
Yeah.
Woo's not a huge strategic thinker though.
No, he's not.
So.
Unfortunately, he's nice. I think he definitely thought, well, I'm the nice guy. I haven't made anyone mad. People vote for me because they like me.
I think Woo. There's a situation where Woo wins, and it's against Cass.
Yes, and
Woo
maybe
and
with
Trish. Does Woo win?
Yes.
Because that's the final five. Trish, Cass, Spencer.
I don't know.
Tony. He doesn't beat Spencer. He doesn't beat Tony, obviously.
Right.
He beats Cass. Does he beat Trish?
He would have a good chance against Trish. I feel like. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think he does beat Trish. Trish versus Cass, Trish wins. Believe it or not, I think Trish wins. Tony would champion Trish on the jury in this hypothetical situation.
I feel like Tony would respect game moves though. But
we're talking Cass versus Trish.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Trish,
Yeah.
I think, but don't get me wrong. I could be wrong. Maybe Cass wins.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Does Spencer vote for Cass? I think Spencer might vote for Cass in that situation. It'd be close.
It'd be close.
I can't say it's a lock. I think
it'd be closer.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Tony wins reward. He picks Trish to go with him. Kind of a mistake to take your ally when you need
But he's going to vote
people
her
to be
out later.
watched. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. He then promises Cass to take her to final 3. I will say, unlike Russell Hantz, which gets compared to Tony, and they're like, how come Tony won when Russell Hantz didn't? Different jury, different styles of play. There are some things similar. Promising Cass to take her to final 3. He does do that, though. He actually stays true to that word.
Yeah, because it's the best choice for him.
Yeah.
And he knows it. Yeah.
And he's not going around just making final 3s with everybody.
No.
He made it with Sarah. The times that we've seen it. He made it with Sarah. Sarah burned that bridge. He was not planning on voting off Sarah until Sarah was not getting back with him.
Right.
And then here with Cass, I don't recall anyone else he said final 3 with. Maybe it was implied with Trish, but I don't know if he ever promised that to Trish.
Right. Not that I remember.
I think Trish, it was implied.
Or that we saw, yeah.
And it's actually kind of weird he didn't bring Trish with him because I think Trish goes to the end with him. Even if Trish won the final immunity, Trish picks Trish would take Tony to the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how Trish was like woo in that sense. Like
Trish was very loyal.
I'm actually this is the one vote where I'm like, I don't know if I would have done that. Everything else makes sense. This is the one vote I'm like, why? Trish is so on your side. It's not even funny. Trish is not going to win over you. Yeah. This is the one vote I do not get. Maybe someone can explain it.
Yeah. I don't know.
He then, so he talks to Cass. He makes the promise. Cass, I'm taking you to final 3. Cass talks to Woo. Tells Woo the promise.
To stir up drama.
Cass, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Maybe you're not understanding. Don't you speak llama to you? People in the background are laughing.
It's funny.
Yeah, it's like, it's so unexpected. And that tribal, he repeats it. It's like, Jeff, I speak llama to her. Or llama. He says llama. Llama to her.
Is this a good move by Cass, though? Because I think it is. Stirring up. Because she's trying to stir up.
She's not on the top.
Yeah. And if you want to get Tony out, this is the way to get his alliance to thinking, oh, he's not really with you. He's going to take me because everyone hates me.
You wouldn't want to do this if you were on your top dog.
Oh yeah, no.
This is an underdog move.
This is good for Cass and where she's at in the game.
Spencer wins immunity again. This might be the counting one. One of them was counting, and I forget which one it was.
Yeah.
Where Spencer wins. I think this might be it. Either way, Spencer wins immunity. Oh no, this is not it. Spencer wins immunity, and I put that it's the sliding puzzle, Mary, where Tony's just wildly sliding things.
Yes.
And if you watch this closely, go back and watch this challenge for those, it might be on YouTube. A lot of these Cagayan challenges are on YouTube. Might be on YouTube. If not, Paramount Plus, whatever. Watch it again. Tony's just wildly sliding puzzles, and whenever they do an over the shot top, it is not wildly sliding. Everything looks actually super close to being completed. Like maybe 1 or 2 pieces off from winning. But then you cut back to a wide shot of Tony, and it's just sliding wild with like reckless abandon. Over the shoulder shots, Mary, are of the dream team.
Yeah.
Yes, replicating. Okay. So they have up close shots because you notice in the wide shot, there's no cameraman over Tony's shoulder. Yeah. Those are close ups for editing purposes, for story purposes, to make things appear closer than, like the mirror. Things are closer than they appear. Well, in this case, things are not as close as they appear. They're further. Spencer wins this by a mile, but the show is editing it, and they probably do this way more often than I'm pointing out. I'm sure they do, to make it look like Tony's close, and he's not. He's not close. No, but over the shoulder shots are like, oh, look how close Tony is. But then you cut back to wide, and he's like nowhere close.
I never thought that Tony was close.
It's just the logo of Cagayan. It's not even like a complicated, like they don't have to like figure it out. They know what it looks like.
Slide puzzles though are difficult if you don't know the pattern, and so yes, a lot of people will just move, and it's gonna shake out. Like if you shake the jar hard enough, it'll settle. And that's what Tony, like, it was so obvious to me in the wide. I didn't even think about it when there was a close up, because it's probably like the close up's like, how can we do this like badly enough?
How can we make this look closer than it really was?
But you're saying how can they make it look closer?
Yeah, how can they make this look like it is a closer race between Spencer and Tony than it really is?
I did not feel like it was close at all. Jeff was constantly like, Tony's just over there whipping pieces around.
And then it cuts to an over shoulder shot and it looks closer actually, but then you cut to the wide and it's like he's not close at all. So anyways, Trish asked Cass if she thinks she is stupid. She's like, Cass, do you think I'm stupid? Because Trish is very confrontational.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah. This is why her and Lindsay beefed. I'm actually surprised her and Cass didn't beef more.
Right.
So anyways, but Cass, just like every time Cass talks, she always has a little smirk on her face. Like, and Trish points it out. Yeah. All along.
Yeah. Even if it wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah. And Tony he's done. He can't swear on anyone else who's living, apparently. He's swearing on his badge, swore on his mother, he swore on his wife and his kid. Now he's swearing on his dad's grave. Like, Tony will swear on whatever. Like, who? Yeah. Stop asking Tony to swear on things. It means nothing.
Yeah. It doesn't mean anything. That he's going to take Trish and Woo. That's what he's swearing.
Which, by the way, not a bad final 3. Again, I think they both take him to final 3 and he wins.
Yeah.
Why does he flip on Trish? Why? I don't understand. Like, this is the vote I do not get.
Well, wasn't this where Spencer kind of convinces him that, hey, if you don't, he had some weird numbers thing that made sense. Like, if you don't vote out Trish, it's going to be a final 2. And the next time
No, at this point, they didn't think about Final 2 at all.
Oh, that's the next vote.
At this point, they did not think about Final 2.
So yeah, I don't know the reasoning for Trish then, because it really doesn't make sense.
The Trish vote.
I mean, Spencer had immunity, so it would have had to been Cass, Woo, or Trish, I guess, if we're assuming that Tony's just
vote off Cass. That's what I'm saying.
no, keeping Cass, it does make the most sense. She is Chaos Cass. Nobody's going to vote for him. She also could be
beat at the end, but she's not going to bring you to the end.
He really had to decide between Trish or Woo. And for whatever reason, he picked Trish.
His only threat at this point is Spencer.
Yeah.
To win.
But he couldn't vote off Spencer.
I mean, let's go back. Let's go back to the previous votes. Does Tasha a threat to Tony to win? Maybe. I don't really get that vibe from the storytelling. Jeffra, no.
No.
Jeremiah, no. LJ, apparently.
Yeah. He would probably be the closest.
Morgan. Come on now. And then, of course, Sarah. No, the way Sarah's playing, there's no way. Like, who is really a threat to Tony? It's really just Spencer. And LJ, apparently.
I believe LJ. We just weren't shown as much of that, I think. So
maybe. All right, episode 14. Tony bluffs about his super idol because technically, his super idol is no longer good. We are at the final 4.
Mm-hmm.
Both of his idols are done, but nobody else knows that his super idol is done. So he bluffs about it. Brilliant.
Smart. Yep.
Modern Survivor that people would ask to see the note, though.
Yes. As you should.
But if you say no, do you think people would risk it on a super idol? Like, it's not a normal idol where you can let's split the votes and see what happens. No, it's a super idol and there's 4 of us left. What are you going to do? You know?
Right.
You need everyone to vote for Tony. And then, okay, so let's say Tony isn't lying and his super idol is real and it really does work for Final 4. Then he gets to solely pick who goes. It's not worth the risk, I guess. He played this so smart.
Right. He did.
And he has a gullible person in Woo there.
True.
That's what I'm saying. If Trish was still there, I think he had 2 gullible people. Anyways. All right. So the family visit happens. What a late time in the season to do that.
Mm-hmm. It was.
Why?
I was like, I asked you at some point, I think it was soon after the merger.
You thought it wasn't happening.
Oh, so there's no family visit this season.
They did letters from home.
And the letters from home episode. I was like, oh, so there's no family visit. And you're like, yeah, they don't always do a family visit.
Well, I wasn't answering your question. I was just like, yeah, they don't always do a family visit. I know. It's not required.
So this was a fun one. I feel like as far as family visit.
I like that they got to go to the challenge and watch them.
Yeah, I did too. I got to cheer them on.
I don't like when the challenge has them participating in it and it's for immunity. I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah.
That has happened in the past, but I like when they get to watch, or if it's for reward and they get to participate, because sure, why not? Though that definitely favors people with more athletic members.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Spencer's sister, we meet her. She's like, oh, Spencer, when he gets into something really extreme. I bet Spencer also falls out of things. Like, he gets into a really extreme, he probably falls out. Because you can't only get into so many things that extremely, but.
That's possible. Yeah.
If you know anything about Spencer in the future, he's out of Survivor now. He's not into it anymore.
Oh, really?
So they caught him at a good time.
And then we meet Cass's husband, which brought a little bit of humanity, I feel like, to her. To Chaos Cass. So that was nice to see. And then was it Tony's best friend or brother?
Yeah, because he was like, oh, my wife can't come.
Yeah.
By the way, this is probably the most confusing thing. I understand his wife can't come here. The baby is holding her back from coming or whatever. Like, he's a little taken back by that. Then she's not even at the finale reunion. And I did not watch the reunion. So maybe it's explained there, but I'm a little surprised that she wasn't at the reunion, but maybe it's explained. I forgot why.
Yeah. I would imagine she'd be there.
We do meet his wife.
They're still together
in a later season when Tony comes back.
Yeah.
So it's not like they are not together.
Right.
Like Russell Hanson, and you meet his wife in the Heroes vs. Villains, they're pretty quickly split up after that season. Again, another comparison to supposedly who Tony's like. Tony can keep his family together. That's all I'm saying. All right. Okay. So Cass wins immunity after being down by a lot. I mean, she is so far behind. She should not have won this immunity.
She should not have won. But this was another good challenge because it was such a comeback. I like a good comeback.
And Tony can't do a puzzle to save his life.
No, he can't.
Nope.
It's hilarious.
Spencer blew this. This was Spencer needed this.
Yes, he did. And I was sad. I remember the first time we watched it, I was really sad because I was hoping Spencer would make it to the end.
First time we watched the season, we're like, oh, crap.
Right. First time watching it, I had no idea what was going to happen and everything.
Spencer makes good points like, hey, he didn't say that you're going to Final Tribal Council.
This is where Spencer, after he does that, he brings up the point about, and he makes a good argument as far as like why to keep him. It doesn't end up working, but He tried. Like
It's a
he
good
played
pitch.
so hard the whole game, and it was sad to see him go out at this point of the game. But I mean, again, that you can't help but kind of like applaud for Cass for staying with it in the challenge.
Right. She didn't give up.
Right. And winning by seconds. So that was cool too.
She was steady as she goes.
Yes.
She was very steady.
She was not steady on the top of the pole.
She was not panicking. She was not stressing. She just went at her own speed. She caught up.
Right.
Did the puzzle methodically, I want to point out. The way she did it was very methodical. Like she knew how to do it. She just had to get to it.
Yeah.
When she got to it, she methodically put it together at her own speed. She wasn't rushing. She wasn't panicked.
Well,
just did it and won.
And one thing I like too is like she was terrified of the heights, and that's what was one thing that made her go so slow. But at the end of her getting her key, she did jump off. I think Tony climbed down, Tony climbed down the ladder because he didn't want to jump off.
He like just learned how to swim or something, supposedly.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But even though she was scared, she jumped off and she won by seconds. And if she had taken the time to just climb down the ladder, Spencer would have won.
Lost, yeah.
So she faced her fears, like all that. It was like a really nice moment.
Too bad it was Cass.
Cass.
It was fun. I know it brings chaos to the season again.
Yeah.
To the ending to the season. If you're rooting for Spencer, it sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, Spencer even says to lose to a brain dead weasel. His quote, like Cass, sucks. So, Woo's confused about what happens if it's a tie vote, and he's like, "What happens?" And you can tell in the background what I'm assuming is happening is Woo is looking at the producer who asked questions, like, "Hey, Woo, can you tell us about the immunity challenge?
Right.
Hey, Woo, can you tell us what you were thinking in this moment when it happened?"
Yeah.
Because they usually do this in between challenges, but before votes kind of thing. So anyways, you can tell in the background, he was like, "What happens in a tie?" And he's looking at the person beyond the camera, and they're probably mouthing the words, "fire making." And he says, "We fight," because it also starts with the death.
Yeah. It was hilarious. I laughed out loud.
Like,
I probably laughed out loud both
fire
times.
or something. Like he got it. But
he did get it.
that's what he's doing. He's looking at the person off camera who is mouthing the words "fire
We have
making."
to fight.
Because they can't say it out loud for audio. Yeah, I thought that's just like one of those, like behind the camera moments that you rarely get. Now, more often in modern Survivor, we'll get behind the camera moments. But this is like one of the rare ones you get in the first 28 seasons. Like,
pretty funny.
Yeah, it was definitely fun. That's what I mean. Did we watch Survivor before you play? You know what I mean?
Probably not.
Probably not. All right. So Spencer's voted off. Smart of everyone to do. I don't think taking Spencer was not a smart move for anybody here. Cass and Woo are like, we have to return to final two. It would be stupid not to do this. Like they both say this. Woo barely beats Cass for immunity. It's that big maze. They have a puzzle. I think they have a puzzle at the end, because when does Survivor not have a puzzle at the end for some reason? This is that big maze. It's not as big as, I remember the one they did in Guatemala, Mary, that had to have taken them like 3 months to make. For the challenge to last like 5. Like it was not. They used to go so high effort, and this is like a very simplistic maze that they had to do. Anyways, I just want to point out that you just kind of see the, not degradation is not the word, but the cheaper budget and like what makes more sense for TV. Like, do people really care about how much time we spent on the Guatemala puzzle? Nobody talks about that. But they did. They put so much effort. The maze, sorry, not the puzzle, the maze of the final like 3 or whatever it was, final 4. All right.
I still think it looks cool.
Woo barely beats Cass for me. I like how the turnstiles work.
Yes.
And how they're stuck.
I guess this is what I was thinking of by seconds, because Woo did beat Cass by seconds here.
Yes.
Maybe in her being Spencer, it may not have been by seconds.
I don't think it was. I don't think Spencer was that close.
It was probably still pretty close, I would imagine. Spencer kept getting stuck on one part.
Yeah, Spencer
and we
was
could see it because he couldn't.
panicking.
He wasn't checking the back of his puzzle. But anyways.
And his sister suggested it, but it was kind of like a too late suggestion.
So my bad about the seconds. But yes, this was a very close challenge.
So the pitch to Woo is, take me to final 2 because you're more likely to beat me. Tony's pitch to Woo, he goes in on the honor thing, which in season 28 should not work.
Right. It works for Woo though.
But
like
it does
you have
work
to know
for Woo.
your audience.
You have to know the motivation.
Yeah.
Goes back to season 2 with Colby. Colby takes Tina over Keith because Colby does not like Keith and does not think Keith deserves a shot at winning.
Right.
Even though Colby might lose the game, he's like, I'm picking Tina anyways. Knowing very well that he could lose, and he loses her by 1 vote, and here Woo picks Tony. Too bad though. Woo was like, I want to win the $1 million. Ask I forgot his girlfriend's
My
name.
beautiful girlfriend.
Yeah, girlfriend's father for a hand in marriage and open a martial arts studio.
Yeah.
He's married. I don't know if he's married to the girl he's talking about here today in modern day.
Right.
He's married. He has a kid. So if you check his Instagram, I don't know if it's the same girl though. I didn't like dig that deep. I just checked his Instagram. So somebody knows, let me know. But yeah. All right. So Cass tells Woo, I am a goat. Woo votes her off.
Yep.
Well then, imagine how the season goes if Tony doesn't win.
Right.
Survivor almost screwed the pooch by having a final 2. Again. In Micronesia, it screwed Sari. I think the season ends up being fine with Parvati winning.
Right. I always like the final 2 better because it feels like when there is a final 3, the third person is never really
always
an option.
Yeah.
So it just makes sense to have the final 2 anyways and just narrow that focus. But yeah, I mean, obviously Wu made a mistake here. I tend to be more on the side of taking people who deserve though, because it's more interesting for us as an audience of who is
that what you're thinking when you're playing on the island though? What's more interesting for the people at home?
No, I understand. If I'm actually playing, sure,
that,
maybe.
I'm taking Cass.
Yeah, I would be taking Cass, but I do respect that, and I think it's cool when it happens when people take people they've been working with the whole time, and it's a fair fight. Like I enjoy that. It's good TV. I think.
For TV, yes. Yeah. I'd rather have it be a closer battle, of course, at the end than not. If you listen to our podcast during the seasons as we're recording live, you'll hear me say that. I'm like, these are the people who are goats. We probably be easily, but that's not what I want. I want these people at the end, so it's interesting. So, all right, Cass is voted off in a baffling move that secures Wu not winning. Right. I like Wu. Nothing against Wu, but yeah, you're not gonna. All right, so we go to Final Tribal. I have shorthand notes here, so hopefully they're all accurate. Sarah asks Wu if he would vote for her to win, I believe. And he says yes. It's the right call. It doesn't change her vote,
right? But
it's the right answer. So Jeffra asked Tony about backstabbing, and she's pretty emotional. I mean, she's pretty emotional.
Yeah.
And he says, yep, you're going to get me first. Tony just like is like, some people are attacking Tony. He's just like holds it together really well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we mentioned this before. In Final Tribal, you always want to own up to what you've done. You never want to backpedal or say, oh no, that didn't actually happen. Or like, yeah, I did that. Own up to it. Be honest. You still need to have some tact. Don't just be like, well, yeah, because you're an idiot. So, like just
right.
I feel like
Tony,
don't
insult.
Tony could have. There were times he could have been like a little gentler, a little more tactful. But for the most part, he owned up to his game and people respected it.
The tactic at Final Tribal is to be honest.
Yes.
Yes. And not insult. Be as humble as possible while presenting your answers. I don't know if it was Trish, but I believe it was Trish who was like, is the $1 million worth spraying your dead father's grave? And I was like, I think it was her. Yes. I was like, shoot. I'm like, that is a hard question to answer. Tony holds it straight and goes, yes.
Yes.
Yes, it was. And that's the thing. It's like, you know what? That is the right answer because that's what you did.
Right.
So to say no would be, well, then why'd you do it in the game? You've now contradicted yourself. So don't, you already did the terrible thing. Just own up to the terrible thing.
And if she had let him talk, and maybe he says it somewhere, like, I feel like he would say, like my dead father and all this stuff, it's worth it because I'm looking for my wife and my girl and taking care of them.
Oh,
like,
he definitely pitches that.
I'm sure he says that at some point. And that's the reality is like, this is a game. He views it as a game.
If his kid is even real. I think it was, or LJ, I think asked that.
LJ or Jeremiah asked if he actually has a kid. Yeah. Yes. And he said, yes. And that's why I played like this, because of my family. And
I mean, Jeremiah still votes for him, but I wonder if Tony had been like, no, they're fake. They were made up. Like, would that have been more impressive? Because it's almost like Jeremiah was like kind of hoping they weren't real.
Yes, I do think he was. I think he had that Southern, like, well, if you're going to do this thing, don't swear on where I come from. We just don't do that. Mary. Sorry. Yeah.
So attractive.
It's so
Mary's
good.
my wife, by the way. Sometimes people are like, why is the guy flirting with the girl? They like don't say her names, which I think is rude. Like we don't say her names during the whole podcast, but whatever.
Yeah, Wesley.
Whenever there's a criticism of our podcast, we're so deep. Anyone here is a fan, I assume. And if there's a criticism, Mary, they say that guy and that girl, but they never say our names. But when people compliment us, they say our names. I just noticed that was a consistent trend. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, that girl
good
who
manners.
I love.
Whom I think. Anyways, now you got me all off track. Yes,
Jeremiah,
I was talking about
doing the
Jeremiah
Southern accent. I said your accent's attractive
because you don't like. you don't vote, you don't swear on your family. Like but this is different mentality of I'm doing this for my family. So I think he did respect that.
Right. I mean, how do you pick Woo?
Right. I guess. Yeah.
Woo was now here giving amazing answers. Most of my stuff here is about Tony.
Mhm.
Morgan is amazed that Tony got people to follow him without boobs.
Yeah.
Morgan's life, I guess, has been revolved around her breasts.
I'm sure.
We haven't really talked about
she
this.
was like,
because there's a lot of shots of it.
We have to ask a question. What am I going to say?
Well, I was cast because of these things.
Yeah.
Let me talk about them, I guess.
That's
there
what it felt
were
like.
so many shots this season that were just, Mary's giving me a look, but I got to go with this because it's brought up, and this is the only season where it's really like a thing, where they'll cut to like people doing Pilates, but they'll focus on Morgan laying flat on the ground where her boobs look great. And they're like, these are shots that I don't think would do in Modern Survivor. And there's another shot where like people are talking and we're watching Morgan scratch between her boobs, like all the time, Mary. I noticed this more as I was doing Sarah's video and I was looking for B-roll footage to put in between things. And I was like, wow, they really like, it's almost like some of them are like blink and you miss it, but it happens so often. It's like, was there a camera just on Morgan at all times? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's kind of my point here. So she brings up the boob thing. It's like, all right, kind of the whole full circle here. Okay, so Tasha asked Tony how he got people to make moves with him. That's all I noted on that. So I guess the answer wasn't sufficient because she votes for Woo.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I guess.
This is what I get for doing shorthand notes. I just typing them out on my phone as we went. Yeah. Cass asks Woo why she took Tony. And he says, and he leans into the honor thing. And it's the truth.
Yeah, it is the truth.
There's no answer it's going to get.
Yeah, that's the only thing he could say because it was the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, he might have gotten scared that Cass would beat him because that's what also Tony tried to pitch to him at one point.
Mm-hmm.
But no, the truth is like he wanted to take Tony.
There's no answer that gets Katz's vote.
No.
Yeah. There's no answer. I think it convinces the jury why Tony was the better choice and you win. So.
Right.
And Spencer kind of beats the drum, or even call it at the end, like says, hey guys, Woo is a dog who followed his master.
True.
Tony is the master.
Fair.
And it reminds me of David Murphy. Only time I'll probably bring David Murphy past this season from season 22, where he's like talks to the jury. He's like, you have to vote for Boston Rob. Philip Shepard is a nut.
Right.
Natalie did nothing. You have to vote for Boston
Yeah.
Rob. And it's like, yeah, I think they're already doing that. And here it's the same thing. It's like Spencer doing it felt more sincere, felt more like in character. David Murphy was kind of, I don't know. I don't really like David Murphy, but I like Spencer.
Yeah.
I'll split that.
I don't remember David's speech, but
That's okay. He did the same thing, but he's a lot more, he's just, I don't know, he's kind of off-putting. Spencer here, though, like very sincere, even if I don't think it convinced, like who's like, no, that Spencer said it.
yeah, probably not.
It puts it all in perspective.
Yeah.
But it does, I think, speak for what everyone at home is thinking.
Mm-hmm. Once
Which
again,
is- yes.
Spencer's like the relatable voice of the people.
He's the narrator. He's the voice of the people this season. All right, so Tony wins the game. Woo gets one vote from Tasha.
Yes.
And that's it.
And
Tony will. So 5 people from the season do return. We will see. I want to get just quick analysis, Mary.
Mm-hmm.
Spencer, Cass, Tasha, and Woo all come back for season 31 second chances. The only time they'll ever play again. They all play in the same season. How, just based on what you've seen here, how do you think they do? Your options are pre-merge, post-merge, final 3 for all 4 of them. How far do you think Woo makes it next time?
Merge.
Okay. So he makes post-merge. He goes out post-merge.
Post-merge.
Okay.
Right.
Cass.
Pre-merge. I don't know.
Spencer.
Final 3.
Tasha.
Post-merge.
Post-merge. Okay. We'll see if you're right. All right. You ready for people's questions from Patreon?
Yes.
Mary, by the way, is unspoiled on seasons 26 and 31 as of the time of recording. This is the only 2 seasons she does not know what happens. That's why I can ask that question, and
Yes.
it doesn't seem too silly. The only season Mary has not seen.
So if my answers are ridiculous, I'm sure
if
they
they're
are.
ridiculous, yeah, that's why. All right. Billy asks, why do you think they went to a final 2 instead of a final 3 this season?
I personally like final 2s, as I mentioned. So maybe somebody was just like begging for it, and they're finally like, okay.
Maybe
we'll let
Tyler
you have your-
Perry begged for it.
Yeah, maybe.
I think it's a result of the Super Idol, personally.
Oh, yeah. They wanted to have that extra vote, like a buffer.
I believe it's the only way to make it seem fair and
Yeah.
not seem like it's like it was overpowered in Cook Islands when it literally took you to final 3. There's no way to stop it.
No, that makes sense.
Could be wrong. I don't want to say it's wrong. It's Jairo. Did Wu sort of, all right, I'm going to try to read this. Did Wu sort of change the game for all reality shows moving forward? Because there are other shows where this has happened as well, though this happened before Wu in Survivor. But anyways, so for example, in Big Brother 16, Mary, you love Big Brother, notoriously on record for not liking Big Brother. But anyways, in Big Brother 16, Cody takes Derek to the final 2 and loses to Derek. And then it also was the same year as this season. So Big Brother. And same strategy move for Tony. It started all before the other players did as well, and other reality shows later on. So anyways, I guess are we saying, I'm trying to interpret this question. I think what they're saying, isn't it crazy that this also happened on Big Brother the same year?
Yeah.
I think so. I think it's the question. I'm not like.
I thought I was saying, did Wu start this trend or something?
But if it happened, only one example. Are there more examples beyond this?
Yeah, I don't know.
Did this also happen in the next season of Big Brother after that? I don't know. I've only watched like 5-6 seasons of Big Brother, and
I think obviously
regretted.
Like for most seasons, most people take people they think they can beat. But the rare occasions where someone will take someone of equal or greater worth, I think it is like maybe an encouragement to other people in other games. Hey, this is the right thing to do. Let's do the right thing. I don't know. It
would have been better had Wu taken Tony then and won. In terms of if you're trying to start a trend, like it's not take the person and lose, it's take the person and win. Like if you can still win taking that person in the end, I think there's more like, okay, well, I guess it could work out.
I disagree. I think that doing the right thing for the right thing is the greater reward.
Oh my gosh. All right. Next question is from Laura. You crazy pants. I'm trying to win $1 million, Mary. Though it is only $600,000 after Obama takes it. All right. Laura asked, did Spencer actually have a chance at winning? Based on Ponderosa videos, yeah, people were like, majority were voting Spencer. I can cast probably the one person who probably wasn't going to vote Spencer at the end. But yeah, Spencer was winning. That's pretty much confirmed. All right, next question is from Caleb. If Cass didn't flip on her Apari Alliance, who would have won the Cagayan season? That's a hard question to ask. So if Sarah didn't go out at the merge, I mean, does Tony still play the same? He's in the underdog role.
He would be in the underdog role, so we're not sure. But I think that we're saying that Cass didn't flip, so we're saying Sarah got her way. And if
Jeffra goes because Cass didn't flip. Jeffra gets voted off because that's the vote that occurred.
Right.
Well, Sarah gets her way. LJ or Tony goes, but that's not what.
Okay.
Sorry.
What I'm saying is whoever goes,
Apari is in charge.
Jeffra
goes out instead of Sarah.
Since it seemed like it was more of Sarah and Cass kind of jointly in charge of Apari at that point. So I'm saying there will be a bigger showdown between Sarah and Tony. And I think maybe Sarah wins the game at the end. I could be wrong because Cass could still flip on her and Sarah isn't treating people well.
Who's in the Apari Alliance if they're the top dog? We have
Spencer. Obviously,
we have Spencer. We have Cass. We have Tasha. We have Jeremiah. We have Sarah. And who's the other person I'm not thinking of that's in that alliance? Was it Morgan?
No, I'm telling you, it was Jeffra. Okay.
It was not Jeffra. They were voting Jeffra off of the other alliance.
I know they were voting Jeffra.
You crazy pants.
Okay. We're confused.
You are mixing me up.
No matter
hardcore.
what.
I think it was Morgan. Was it not Morgan?
The question
It was Morgan, yes.
Who would probably win?
Beauties on the Apari tribe were Jeremiah, Alexis, and Morgan. I said, why didn't they vote off Morgan?
Yes.
She was, yes, Morgan's in the Apari Alliance.
Okay,
all right,
it's Morgan.
So it's Jeremiah, Morgan, the three brains, and Sarah. Come final 6, let's say they stick together. I think the brains win.
I think Spencer wins, yes.
The brain, Tasha, Cass, Spencer, it's a final 2 still. One of them wins.
Yes.
Though if Tony finds a super idol, that does mess up a lot of things.
Yes, that would still mess up things. Tony still is a player.
But let's say Apari holds it together. They are the final 6 or final 5. I think the brains win. I don't think Sarah, Jeremiah, or Morgan wins.
Right.
I think the brains are in charge of that alliance. If nothing changes, they just take over and run the game.
Yes.
Can't believe you're trying to tell me they're voting off Jeffra, Mary. Mary's like, it was Jeffra. Jeffra's in the alliance. All right. Last question. We have recorded over 2 hours at least.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. I didn't promise any time limit on this one because it was a good season. Zane, last question. Do you believe Trish should be asked back for Survivor 50? I guess it dates us a little bit, but the next returning season as of the time of recording is going to be Survivor 50. Mary, do you think Trish at the age of 60 plus should be asked back for Survivor 50? Me neither. No. I don't think Trish was going to come back. It would have happened on Second Chances or Game Changer, season 34. The 2 returning seasons that happened after Cagayan, and it didn't occur either time.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it would have happened if they were to ask her back. Hey, she didn't come back 50. My opinion. I don't even want she'd be on the table. There's so many more people since season 28
Yes.
I'd rather see return.
Yes.
And I don't want to see people like Boston Rob and Harvey again.
Right.
I've seen them enough times. There are so many people who've only played once I'd rather see than Trish. So,
I agree.
Anyways,
Mm-hmm.
that is our podcast. Next time we will be recording season 25 Philippines. I'm looking forward to that one. That's a good season. You get Penner is back after injuring his kneecap in season 16 Micronesia. You get Russell Swan, who almost died on Samoa on that challenge, because this is the season where they bring back people who weren't medically evacuated, and they bring back Scoopin from season 2, who falls in the fire and burns a lot of his skin off. Mary, believe it or not, Penner was a replacement for Colton.
Oh yeah, that would have been great.
That would have been terrible. I'm so glad they didn't put Colton. Colton would just quit.
Mm-hmm. Well,
he quit on Blood versus Water. We can talk about that because that was last season before Cagayan.
Mm-hmm.
He quits on Blood vs. Water 7 days into the game. I don't know if you remember that, Mary, but he does.
No, I remember.
Good. He quit 7 days into that game. And Jeff basically claims that he quit on One World. I think it's because his actual thing that he's medically evacuated for turned out to be nothing.
Yes.
I think that's what it was. Mm-hmm. So, though Jeff did backtrack later and say, hey, actually, I was wrong saying that. But guess what's on recorded film in the edited canonical show? Jeff saying Colton quit twice. So he can backtrack all he wants later. In the show, it says differently. They left it in. You go back and watch it. They didn't edit it out. Still there.
Because nobody cares.
Colton, yeah. All right. Well, that's it for this podcast. We'll see you all next time. Bye.